During the 2025 Supercross season, I sat down with Jerry Robin as he reflected on the journey that led to one of the best seasons of his career. We released that show, and 6 days later, without warning, Jerry's Supercross career was taken from him. I remember seeing clips and seeing Instagram and just seeing people start to talk about it, and I'm literally you were just here.
Yeah. It
was just the craziest reality check.
How fast things can change.
Of our sport and how fast life can change. So could you tell straight away?
Yeah. As soon as I hit the ground.
Fuck.
It happened really slow, from my chest. You could literally feel it deleting.
No.
A couple inches every second. Of course I couldn't move, but yeah, the feeling slowly deleted to my feet.
And what's going through your head at that time?
I mean, I just kept repeating my life's over.
Jerry's Supercross career may have ended, but his never say die mentality didn't, and he's still finding new ways to challenge himself.
I do pretty well, honestly. That's one thing I'm really proud of after getting out of rehab and stuff, how far I've came.
Yeah, you look good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good. I get around good. I work out a lot. Got back to normal life as soon as I could, because it was just I hated rehab. Oh my God, I hate rehab. It's what else do? You either let it break you and you stuck where you're at, or you can kind of just, it is what it is, and you just move forward.
Gypsy gang, welcome back Jerry Robin to the podcast. I'm going to interrupt this podcast to bring you a pretty crazy statistic. 70% of people that watch this channel are not subscribed. That does a couple of things. A, that means that you might not be getting served this content the minute that it comes out. And it also just tells YouTube that they're not really worth watching. So if you want to support the podcast, the easiest and quickest, most high impact thing you can do is subscribe to this channel, give this podcast a like, and leave a comment down below to let us know who you would like to see on Gypsy Tales next. We're going to do our best to bring them to you. All right, let's get back to the podcast.
I met a gypsy.
Jerry Robin, 12 months ago to the day,
Yep.
You did this podcast, and then you flew to New York, and your life changed forever. 12 months later, how are you, bro?
I'm doing all right. Obviously a lot of things have changed and everything. I mean, it's a big life change. The thing I did for my whole life is, no longer part of my life. I've been working for FXR and everything like that, so I'm still involved to some degree, but it's been kind of nice in a way to learn some new skills, like computer skills, because it's kind of I can't really do a whole lot of physical stuff like I was doing before. So just kind of figuring things out as I go.
How has the adjustment been? Because you went through the worst case scenario. And the thing that, dude, I remember seeing the clips and seeing Instagram and just seeing people start to talk about it, and I'm literally you were just here.
Yeah.
And
tough.
It was just the craziest reality check.
Yeah.
Of
how fast things can
of
change.
Our sport and how fast life can change, and it was, I think you got hurt before we even put the show out.
It might have. I think it came out
or did it come out that morning or something?
It was 2 days before, I think.
Mate,
and
okay.
It was getting pretty good engagement. Everything was because I haven't done many, I don't really put myself out there that much. And so actually I really enjoy doing things like this because I feel I'm pretty reserved or to myself. And it was cool to see people react positively to getting to know me more.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and it was dude, it was crazy how fast things change too. Just in that aspect of getting hurt or having a pod like this come out, and a lot of positivity came with it. And then literally 2 days later, it was the worst possible outcome.
That's what I remember. Even Ricardo called me, and because I think maybe he was driving to my house or something, and he said, he's dude, I listened to the Jerry Robin pod.
No way, really? That's cool.
He's dude, this is so cool. And then it was that day, or I can't remember the exact way that it worked out, but it was just it was overwhelmingly positive. You were having this awesome season. The pod comes out. Everyone's so pumped on it. And I was getting calls from people left and right about how good that show was, how cool you are. And then it was fucking gnarly.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, honestly, it's hard to put it into words, to be honest. Like, I don't know. It's that day, like, replays in my head a lot, unfortunately, So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like, thankfully I didn't hit my head and then get a concussion or knocked out or anything like that. But sometimes it's like, when crashes like that happen, it's almost like better that you don't remember
You wish
it.
you didn't remember.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't remember it at times,
So you can remember the whole thing?
Everything.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. Like, sometimes it, like, keeps me up at night.
I bet it does, dude.
Yeah.
Have you, I mean, us obviously follow what you're doing and building home gyms,
Yeah.
working with guys at the track. Like, so you've figured out a way to just keep on going.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like, what else do? You either, like, let it break you and you stuck where you're at, or you can kind of just, it is what it is, and you just move forward. And I feel like I've always kind of been, just roll with the punches kind of thing. And I don't know, that's just like how I've always been, So it's like, and one thing, like, dude, with therapy and like being at a rehab place for a long time, like, you're around a lot of negativity, and like people in this injury, like, really get stuck in a bad place, like, quick. And I've seen it firsthand with a lot of people, people away from racing or just they got in a car accident, like strangers that I don't even know at all. But it's like really hard to see that. And I mean, I've had plenty of my bad days too. Like, this injury sucks. And I don't know. I think it'll be good to, get on a pod like this and talk more openly about day-to-day life and like what goes into it, because a lot of people don't talk about it. They avoid it because it is unfortunately a reality of our sport. And I mean, it can happen just like that, like it did for me. So yeah, man.
What was that day like?
Well, in the morning, like, everything was good. It was just a normal day. We did free practice. The track was actually like they had to kind of throw it together pretty quick because the rain. Yeah. So it was like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was like kind of janky.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, it was, but they didn't really have any other option, like, how to put it together. But it was, really rutted, typical, like, it rained. But the only reason why I was tripling into that section was because when I tried to go double, triple, dude, like, we were almost crashing every lap going triple off that 5-footer.
Yeah.
So one lap, Justin Hill did the 3 in front of me. So naturally, you just do
You're
it.
like, oh,
You just do it the next lap. Like, it's just how 458 group is. Like, as soon as one person does it, most of the time everybody follows. So, and I was doing it clean. I think I clipped it like one time before that, which it wasn't like that bad. And then first qualifier started. Couple laps in, I did it the lap before, and then it was like my first fast lap, or maybe my second one, because I usually do 2 in a row. And yeah, just like came out of the turn. I don't know if I got wheel spin or the rut kind of blew out, but it's like I would say most of us doing it were probably in first gear. So it's like you got to commit.
That's a big fucking drop.
Yeah, like, you have to commit
Yeah.
when you get on the gas in the turn. So you're like dumping the clutch wide open. Like, you only got like 10 feet of room, really.
Yeah.
Maybe even less. I don't know. It's like everything happens so fast. And maybe I got wheel spin right when because you kind of like stand the bike up to get lift, like, right at the last second. And I don't know, maybe I got wheel spin then, or I don't know why I didn't make it that time. But it just is what it is.
And so you clip it and then go over the bars.
Yeah.
And so could you tell straight away?
Yeah. As soon as I hit the ground.
Fuck.
Yeah, dude, oh, God. It's hard to talk about.
I was going to say, how is it to talk about it?
It's kind of hard. Like, I don't really talk about it like that deeply at times.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's just like such a shitty day.
Fuck, bro.
But like, because usually what happens, I don't know if you saw, because, dude, almost the same thing happened to Vial like a week later.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 in over the 5-footer. And
it looked so similar.
Yeah, it was like identical. But the only thing that's different, which usually 9 times out of 10, it happens where you clip a 5-footer and you're so far over the front that you just get thrown forward.
Yeah.
And like over the next jump or into the next jump. And Vial was like a couple inches from his head hitting first. So
Yeah.
he got pretty lucky.
Yeah.
And for me, I just wasn't expecting it because I was expecting to get thrown forward like how he did. And when my front end came down, it like compressed and it shot me up.
Yeah.
And I was like over the handlebars, like doing a handstand. I'm like, dude, what the hell?
And you're almost at like in those moments,
like in
it's
a-
like
like-
zero gravity.
Yeah, I was like in like a dead spot. And I'm just
Yeah.
like sitting there. I'm like, what? Like, I didn't know how to react to that. Because usually you just get thrown forward and you're just along for the ride. But yeah, that time I just got shot up. It came straight down, like right on my head. Fuck. So, and just like folded.
And yeah, there's those like, I mean, I think everyone that rides has experienced those times where, yeah, you go over the bars or you get flicked up and there's no momentum that lets you like tumble or roll. You're just dead and frozen in the air and you just, and a lot of times
down.
like they're the ones.
Yeah,
that-
the ones that you like drop down, just like straight down, is always the ones that hurt or you get more messed up.
Yeah.
Because whatever reason, like when you have momentum forward, you kind of like almost skid first, you know, and you get a chance to roll out of it. But yeah, that time, man, I just like came down straight down and I like kind of tried to tuck and yeah, I just broke my shit, man. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So, but there was a lot of like, because I was pretty drugged up.
on the track or
Yeah,
like as the,
after. So like they were asking me like what I can and can't feel. But it just like it kind of I don't know, like tensions were high, but just like a lot of emotions.
like are people stressing in that?
Yeah. So like at first, you know, word got out that I was like paralyzed waist down, which I'm actually chest down, like nipple line.
So you can still feel your nipples when you misses.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's good. Then.
Yeah, so that's all good. But yeah, like I have no core function or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Because at first, my post said waist down, but I didn't make any of like my initial Instagram posts just because I was pretty drugged up
Yeah.
after surgery and stuff. So yeah, man, it's a crazy day.
Have you ever really thought about hydration? I bet you haven't, but I have, and that's why I am on a mission to hydrate action sports with my new company, SOTA Fuel. You can look at any study. Hydration is one of the key factors in human performance. And action sports is about as high performance as it gets, and there are extreme consequences to not being locked in. Find out more about how important hydration is for you and if you're leaving performance on the table by heading to sotafuel.com. So you remember being on the ground, you remember, so you lost feeling straight away.
Yeah, dude. So it's like happened really slow, like from my chest or whatever level it was, but it like you could like literally feel it like deleting.
No.
Yeah, it's like super. For me, it was like super slow. It was like a couple inches, like every second, and you could like feel it. Like, of course, I couldn't like move, but yeah, the feeling like slowly like deleted to my feet.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going through your head at that time?
I mean, I just kept repeating my life's over, like over and over, like to the medics. My mechanic eventually got over there, my wife, you know, and she's like bawling. Dude, it's like, it's terrible, honestly. And then the medics are like trying to like calm me down, like tell me I'm fine. I'm like, dude, I'm not fucking fine.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy feeling when you can like remember every second of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever went back and like rewatched the race day live, but you can see like other riders on the track like kind of like freaking out.
Yeah.
Because they like, we know like when someone's like kind of fucked up. And yeah, it's just like Starling rolled up to me and I told him right away and he like rolled off because obviously like you don't want to hear that. But yeah, you could tell like the other guys like circling the track, they like pretty much everybody knew right away. Like something wasn't right. So yeah, it's tough.
Man, I just can't imagine like, I mean, I think everyone's had, maybe not everyone, but like if you've ridden long enough, like you've kind of had some scares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or seen
Well,
or been around.
everyone's seen.
Everyone's seen
Yeah.
bad things and like what the sport can bring. So it's like the thought's always there, but you like block it out.
Yeah.
I know that's like one thing I think on Hunter's pod right after I got hurt. You guys talked about that.
Yeah.
How he's like, you're kind of like, you know, stubborn. Like, oh, it won't happen to me kind of thing.
But the thing is, and I mean, I guess this is like, maybe this is a justification I've always kind of had, and it sucks even talking about it, but you're just like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the risk is there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that the risk is there at every level. Some things carry more risk than others, but it's like, are you gonna not ride?
Yeah.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, especially when it's like your job. You know, I don't know. It's like I still have love for the sport. Like, I'm not like bitter towards it because I mean, I've been around a lot of injuries and seen a lot of bad things and everything like that. And I don't know. It's hard to like. A lot of people have asked me if I could redo my racing career. Like, would I still race if I knew the outcome? And I mean, I don't think I ever would.
You don't think you'd race?
No, if I knew like this would happen.
For sure.
Yeah, you
For
know,
sure.
like if you knew that was like the end of the chapter. But yeah, dude, it's
But yeah, I mean, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with life is like, you don't know. the outcome.
yeah, you just don't know.
And what if, you know, it's like what if you get hit by a bus? But man, people die every day.
Well, that's like
People die every day in weird
Yeah.
and mysterious circumstances. And it's like, you know, for the way that your racing career ended, I mean, you as a person, like listening for 3 hours to your life and what you'd been through and everything that you did to
get there.
get to where you were, like it built you into this perfectly suited person to get through this next phase
Yeah.
of your life, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like this same thing could have happened in a car accident,
Yeah.
but you would have none of the skills to deal with it.
Yeah, and to,
none
like,
of the
move through it.
community to
Yeah.
support you
Mm-hmm.
post, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like, it's so hard to play those what if
Yeah.
guessing games.
Yeah, that is true. Like,
You know?
I've met so many cool people after my injury as well, just like outside the sport that were a good like support system. But yeah, dude, it's like moto through my life. You know, it's like a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Like my best moments and my worst moments in my life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like it's positive and negative. So it just, you know, I'm grateful for the things that it's taught me.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of like the things I've been able to work through because of that sport. And it's taught me a lot about myself. So
Yeah.
in that aspect, I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I don't know, like if I never experienced those moments growing up, like pushing myself through hard times, I don't know. It's like, how would I have handled this?
Yeah.
You know, a situation like this. So it's like,
Yeah. Would you ever have met your wife?
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, man, it's just, I don't know. When you think of life, it's so weird to think about it that deeply. You know, one decision changes like a lot of trajectory.
Yeah.
You just don't know
Yeah.
because that's all in that moment. That's all you know.
Yeah.
So it's weird to look back on.
Yeah. And I mean, weird to have such a forced perspective at your age,
Yeah.
you know, like you're supposed to be young, carefree,
Yeah.
newly married. You
Yeah.
know, it's like,
I'm getting kind of old now. I'm 29. I just turned 29 a couple weeks ago.
damn, almost 30, bro.
I know. Oh my God. I
Yeah, I'm
remember.
nearly 40, dude.
Really?
Yeah, bro. One of my boys that works with me, I said some dumb shit. He's like, motherfucker, you're almost 40. And I was just like, Jesus,
I'm
bro.
getting old, man.
Easy, dog.
Yeah, right.
But it's true. It's true. The
Yeah.
time just ticks away.
Yeah, it does. But it's like in the grand scheme of things, like you're still young.
She's still pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you got forced to think about life in a completely different way.
Pretty early.
Like a lot of people probably start to have these thoughts about life like way down the track,
Yep.
you know, and like you kind of get forced to think about them now, and probably puts you in a better place in a lot of other areas of your life
Yeah.
because of it, you know.
Yeah, like one kid, his name's Adler. He got hurt racing moto and stuff. He was like just about to turn pro. And I think he was 18 when he got hurt. And I'm just like, dude, like, I can't, thinking back to where I was when I was 18, I'm like, I don't know how I'd be able to like handle that. you know, like I was able to live out my dream, race professional. I was having a good year. So like a lot of like boxes were checked for me.
Yeah.
And I could like walk away from the sport, like, well, not really walk away, roll away from the sport.
Satisfied.
Satisfied
Yeah.
for the most part, you know, like there's some things that I really wished that I think I was going to accomplish last year.
Yeah.
Like I was getting close to a top 10 and in the 450 class. And
Dude, you were having a fantastic year.
yeah, I was having a good year, you know, like, I don't know. I'm proud of like that side of things that I was able to finally race more like how I practice.
Yeah.
Because at the practice track, dude, like I've had some good days.
Yeah.
At the practice tracks against some good guys. So it was good to finally get closer to that for me.
Yeah.
So.
I think one thing as well that you definitely can take from your career is just that there's not one person that I've ever spoke to that thinks you're not a good guy.
Well, that's good. I like to hear that.
But that's like huge.
Yeah, it is.
There's not not that many people that you can say that about, you know.
Yeah.
People probably can't say that about me. But to be that guy that so many people are just like, man, what a fucking good dude.
Yeah.
Like that carries a lot of weight as well.
No, it definitely does it. You know, it's a good feeling at the end of the day.
So you go back, you're on the ground, you start to have that feeling go away. What's the next 28, 48 hours of your life look like?
So obviously I get in the stretcher. I'm like on the back of the mule.
How was the Alps Medics crew through all this?
They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were great. Because like thankfully I landed on my back.
So they didn't have to move you.
Yeah, like they just kind of had to roll me over on my side a little bit to get the backboard under me. Like, dude, if I was on my stomach, I don't know how they would do that. Like roll you over.
Yeah.
But, which I didn't even know this, but for like a little bit, but I broke my neck too.
Really?
Yeah, so I broke my C2 vertebrae.
So way up there.
Yeah, so like I got really lucky.
Well, that's the other thing too.
I got really lucky that I'm not a quad or dead.
Yeah.
Because that's right at the C2 level. Usually if that displaces, you die.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was thankfully just a fracture. Like it cracked the vertebrae and it was like, it didn't displace or anything, but I don't know. I still got used to my arms.
Yeah.
And I do pretty well, honestly. Like that's one thing I'm really proud of after getting out of rehab and stuff, like how far I've came.
Yeah, you look good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Like I get around good. I work out a lot. Like got back to normal life as soon as I could because it was just like I hated rehab. Oh my God, I hated rehab.
Yeah, okay.
But back to the first like 24 hours. Sorry about that.
No.
Kind of ramble.
No,
but,
all good. We got time. Bro.
We got time.
We got time.
But you get on the stretcher. My wife's down there, bawling her eyes out. And
that had to be fucking the worst.
Oh, dude, it's terrible. Like I think about it, like it literally replays in my head all the time. It's so hard. And just seeing her like that and just like people kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just like laying there. I'm like, dude, my life's over. Like, fuck. You know, that's just like how it felt. And kind of, just get in the ambulance. We had a meet. I don't know. It was kind of odd. It was really odd. Like the ambulance left and we had to meet another ambulance like on the side of the road and transfer me.
Okay.
Because I don't know if something else was like going on.
It might have also been that like they have to have an ambulance at the track.
On site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
so
probably
something
just
like
did
that.
like,
They kind of had to like switch it off.
Yeah.
And then they pin it to, I stayed at Hackensack Meridian Health, I think is what it's called, or University Health or something like that. It's actually a really good hospital that we found out. And just so happened the neurosurgeon was on his way to work. So he was like, all right, let's do it. Like I didn't have to wait at all. So roll in, I get a CT and x-rays and they just put me to sleep.
Damn.
Yeah.
How long from like crashing to
surgery?
Anesthetic, just out.
3 hours. So it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took a while to do imaging properly because obviously the situation and they had to like really be careful. It's very painful. I don't remember a lot of that stuff, which I wasn't on meds yet. But but it's just kind of a blur because
Yeah.
everything was moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure there was just an absolute.
yeah, and I was like pretty much talking to like Jake Fineta like through a lot of it. Like he
Okay.
was like over my head, like talking me through it kind of thing. Like
Who's
tell me
he?
what Jake Fineta's the chaplain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, it's crazy.
So you go, and are you in a lot of pain? Like
Yeah.
because you've had other injuries.
Not my worst pain
Okay.
because a lot of it was numb.
I was going to say, how much of that is,
Yeah, like I didn't even know I broke my neck. My neck didn't hurt. I was just laying there. I was just like, fuck.
yeah, it would just be more like.
It's really hard to breathe, mainly. So that was like kind of the thing that freaked me out was how hard it was to breathe. But I didn't know I broke 6 ribs and punctured lungs, and I was like coughing up blood, and
Fuck.
I was like, fuck. I was like, what's going on? You know? So yeah, I got pretty fucked up.
How long was the surgery?
I think it was 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
I think.
And so what do they go in and do? Just like basically stabilize, like fuse the spine?
So I'm fused from T3 to T9. So they fuse 6 vertebrae together with 2 rods. I think it's 2 rods, like one on each side, bunch of screws. But I had a burst fracture, so I think that's kind of why I got so, like why my spinal cord got so messed up, because bones punctured it.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of that out. I think they leave one piece in there because it's like in the center.
Yeah.
So they left that in there, but they were able to take all the pressure off it, which was good. But yeah, dude, it's like crazy to think like they can have 2 back-to-back, same level of injuries, and you get such different outcomes, whether you're like a complete or incomplete, whether how bruised your spinal cord gets. Like, I don't know. It's weird that some people end up getting some function back or none.
So, and where are you at on that spectrum?
So I'm a complete spinal cord injury, like no sensory, no function below. But I think I'm kind of misdiagnosed because I've gained some sensory and function back.
Really? So what have you got back?
So it's weird. It's in like a U shape around my body, like down to my sides. I can feel like right here into my hip bones. But like as soon as I get to my abs and up to my like nipples, nothing
on the front side.
on the front or back. Like some of my back has came back, like lower back muscles. So I'm like kind of stable on that front. But if I get forward motion, I can't like
Bring yourself back.
Yeah, bring myself back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like side bending and like it's not like a full contraction, but I'm pretty stable side to side.
Okay.
So I gained that back after I did stem cell treatment. So I did 2 rounds of stem cells and stuff like that, and I gained some function back, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to gain 0. Like at first they said I had severed my spinal cord, and I was like, no hope. And then they redid imaging, and they're like, after surgery, and they're like, okay, maybe it's not fully. It's called transected or transected or whatever they call it. So there was like a little bit more positivity there, I guess. But I was supposed to absolutely have like nothing come back.
So where did you do the stem cells?
So I went to a doctor in Kansas City that one of my sponsors knew. And so I did it there, trying to think. I think it was a month after my surgery. So it was end of May. That's when I did my first round. And then I did my second round of treatment at the McGinley Clinic in October.
And that was positive both times?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it something that you think you can keep doing? Or
yeah, I've kind of thought about, I've done 2 different types. I did adipose, which is like your own fat cells. Yeah. And then at McGinley Clinic, I did like a bone tap. So they extract bone marrow. Yeah. And I kind of want to try like possibly going to like Tijuana or, Brazil or something like that and doing the fetus, like the placenta stem cells. Cause I know it's like a little bit more, I guess, younger cells.
Yeah. 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 Cause you could even do like, if you guys did IVF and you got like embryos.
Well, that's what I've been seeing this new stuff of embryonic stem cells. That's like crazy.
I think that's the shit.
Yeah. I think that's like the new, cause I know down in Brazil, they're trying a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Like really cool stuff for this injury, like nervous system injury or central nervous system injuries, that like MS and all that stuff. They've had really good positive.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we did IVF And so we got like 7 embryos.
Oh, okay.
And I ain't having 7 fucking kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Do you just freeze them? Or
yeah,
do
you just freeze them.
Mm-hmm.
But so like you can take those stem cells, you know,
Yeah.
like
Because it's your
obviously-
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where they have like crazy success.
Because
with
they
stem
can
cells.
manipulate them into nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it sucks because like out of the US, they do a lot of cool shit. And I don't know if it's like the
Well,
WHO or whatever it's called.
I think a lot of it in the US, I could be wrong, but I think a lot of it in the US is just like religious.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, because they're just like, oh, it's an embryo is a child. And it's like, well, it's not. It's 6 cells.
Yeah, I think it's a little
You know?
different, like depending on what it's for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, if
I
you're
don't
just doing it for like some Botox shit in your skin,
Yeah, that's
like,
little-
let's fucking.
yeah, but like for like someone like me, like, hey, like we're gonna try this to see what it can regrow, like nervous system wise.
Yeah.
Because I mean, dude, it's like pretty proven lately
Yeah.
that it does to some extent work. So
Dude, Tijuana's not that far away.
no, I know. So I've been talking to a couple places.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see.
There's, I mean, that's one thing. Like, I'm guessing you probably don't want to get like your hopes up.
Yeah.
Like, you probably want to plan for the worst,
Worst.
expect the best
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, I don't know if you follow much AI shit. Bro, the world's changing.
Yeah. Big
Like,
time.
2026
Mm-hmm.
is the year that everything changes,
Yeah.
in my opinion, of just how functionally AI is going to be deployed into our lives.
Yeah.
And dude, research, when you can run, like, so you can, they're building these like agent wire, like harnesses that basically just like make LLMs run in a loop.
Okay.
So you've got like, okay, this is this huge LLM that's like the most powerful model, right? And then it's like, this is the task that you give it. And then you like give it a file to save its memory to, and you give it a file to save its state. And it's got like this 1,000,000 token context window. And then it burns through that, saves its state, reboots itself, fucking starts again, bang, iterate. It, like, man,
It's
you're
so
gonna have
consistent too. Yeah.
you're going to have these things working 24 hours a day on research and fucking, it's going to be crazy where the world gets to. And
From
the
that.
type of, like, think about how far we've come in science with just human researchers that work 9 to 5.
Well, dude, even like, you know, in the last 10, 15 years, how much everything's changed.
Yeah.
You know, give it another 10, 15. Especially, like you said, with AI and where things are heading with that. And just like, dude, medical advances have really, there's been a lot even in the last year.
Really?
Yeah, just, I mean, especially from the research I've done in my injury space, like, dude, there's people everywhere in the world trying to figure out how to help with this. So it's cool. Like, it's obviously shitty to get hurt, but maybe it's not a bad time either. You know, like,
Dude, the best time to
recovery
have that
wise.
is like
yeah,
right now.
you know, like
because
40 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of just fucked. You know,
Literally.
like, like Mike Young, he helps with road recovery. He got hurt. I think maybe his was 30, 40 years ago. I can't remember when he said he got hurt. But dude, I mean, they just kind of send you home and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't like really do anything back then.
Yeah.
You know, you're just stuck in a chair and you got to figure it out. So it's came a long ways in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like the pool of resources. Like, so how was Road to Recovery through this?
Dude, awesome.
Can you
So
believe that
good.
they get shit?
Dude, I know, like I think they got kicked out for selling merch or something. I don't know what was up with that, but
I remember that.
dude, they were so big for me early on in my injury, like especially with Mike because he lives it, so he knows like a
Well,
lot.
so does Jimmy.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's lived it. Yeah, and I mean, thankfully, by the grace of God, he ended up walking, but he still has issues. Like,
Yeah.
there's this saying, it's called AD. It's like autonomic dysreflexia, and I can get it because depends on where you get hurt at, and I'm like right at the threshold. I've had it once, but you can you can die from it. So your nervous system like just like attacks itself.
Freaks out.
Yeah, and your blood pressure skyrockets, and you can either have like an aneurysm, a
Stroke,
stroke,
yeah.
like. And I know Jimmy just had it. I think it was at A2 or something like that, and it's like pretty scary. Like I know when I had it in rehab, dude, I was like, I'm gonna die. Like it's so scary. you just feel terrible, like puking, can't see, like you go blind. You're just like, dude,
Really?
body freaks out.
So you had that in
Once,
rehab?
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen like anytime. So it's kind of weird. I've only had it once, thankfully.
Yeah.
But even like, I've only had one bladder infection, which is like unheard of.
Yeah,
for my,
yeah, because that's a thing, because
Catheters.
and yeah.
You know, I've only had one. So I've gotten either lucky or just trying to take care of
I was
myself.
going to say, you're probably just pretty on top of shit.
Yeah, I feel like I take care of myself pretty good.
I am one of the people lucky enough to say that motorcycles has given me everything. This is my dad, Pete. Like so many of you watching, I was given this love of two wheels by my father. My job has taken me to the other side of the world, which means riding together has become a much tougher task. This is where Destination Yamaha comes in. I flew Pete to the US for the last round of Supercross in Salt Lake City and told him to pack a helmet. I logged on to DestinationYamaha.com, picked the state and the type of bikes we wanted to ride, and landed on a 2-day trip with Grit Moto Adventures on the T700. This is the ultimate arrive and ride experience, and we spent 2 days riding hundreds of miles in the Utah backcountry.
It is unreal, amazing, beautiful part of the world.
Winding dirt roads, through picturesque national parks, challenging climbs, and after over 50 years on two wheels, Pete finally got to ride through snow. These 2 days riding gave us more two-wheel memories that we'll never forget. They say it's about the journey, not the destination. And there is truth to that. But in this case, it was also about the destination. Destination Yamaha. You have the surgery, you wake up. What's that next little window look like in your
Dude,
life?
honestly, I don't remember a lot of it.
That's
'cause
probably the blurriest part.
I was so fucked up on drugs. Just like, I mean, I was on Dilaudid, fentanyl, like your whole body's numb.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit, you're just numb.
Fuck.
Like, it was crazy. Like, I barely remember who visited me in the hospital at all. It's kind of a blur.
And how long were you in that state?
Like that mental state where I just like don't remember.
Yeah.
Probably like 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just like heavy drugs, heavy medication.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any like weird drug experiences?
No, not really. I was just like
numb.
just numb. Like, dude, pain, like that stuff is so crazy. And I asked them like the medical grade, because like fentanyl is like pretty bad right now, just like with homeless people and like people dying all the time. And I asked them like what dosage I get compared to like the street version, and they said it's like 1/10 of the street version. And I was like, bro, how do people take that? That's insane.
Yeah, my wife, when I was in Oz, she had to go to hospital, and she's literally never been in hospital in her life, ever.
She's probably freaked out.
Never had a thing wrong, right?
Yeah.
So then we go to hospital, and they end up giving her fentanyl, like this tiny dose. First time in her life she's ever had a drug like that.
Did you feel like you're floating?
Bro, she was fucked up, and she's like looking at me like, like, this is so good. She's like, now I understand why there's drug addicts.
Yeah, because it's like you literally feel nothing.
It's like complete sidebar. But when your life is just completely shit,
Yeah.
you've got no fucking options. You were born in the ghetto.
Yeah.
Your fucking dad's in prison. Your mum's a prostitute.
Yeah.
You're in the streets of Baltimore.
What are you going to do?
Do drugs. Like,
It's so sad.
it's so sad. But like, you know, like you can see
How people get addicted to it.
you can
100%.
be in hospital with a broken spine and feel okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, I
weird.
kind of get it. I kind of get
How
not-
people get so...
not the way that you should deal with your problems, but
Yeah.
that's one of the ways
How they deal
that
with
you
it.
can deal with your problems. And if
Yeah.
your problems are so massive and so out of your control, I kind of get it.
They're
and
just numb.
people want to look down at those people.
Yeah. But they're just like, they just want to be numb.
They just want to fucking get through their life, man.
Yeah,
they got
it's
given
so
these
sad.
They got given these fucked up cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, there you go, man, do your thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was just in Austin for MotoGP.
Okay.
And there was one, we were just riding home on fucking bird scooters
Mm-hmm.
from dinner. and then just turn right, and there was just like this row of bus stops, and bro, just
Homeless.
people are
Yeah, dude, it's so
fucked.
sad.
I'm just like, man, this is so shit.
Yeah.
But like,
It's terrible to see.
so you can understand why there's an epidemic
Oh, yeah.
of
Because like,
those things.
because that's why I was curious. Because like, I was like, dude, I literally feel fine.
yeah,
And this is like a tenth of like the street version, they said.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, no wonder so many people are taking it. It's crazy.
Fucking gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
That is a crazy feeling drug.
But yeah, dude, like before like those next 3 days, yeah, just kind of like nothing. It's all kind of a blur. Had some of my wife's family, they flew there that night to come see me. So like my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law, they got there that night. They stayed, I think it was 5 days, something like that. I can't remember how long they were there. But me and my wife were there for 10 days. And then we flew on a medevac jet from Teterboro to Ontario, California.
Yep. And then straight into rehab.
Mm-hmm. Dude, actually, my my medevac plane had a failure at our
Shut the fuck up.
dude at our fuel stop.
Shut the fuck
Dude,
up.
I'm serious. Okay, so I'm laying on this freaking like gurney. Like it's pretty hot. We're on the tarmac. We're about to take off, and I flew planes, so I could like tell the pilots were like kind of scrambling because I was facing like I could see the cockpit, and they're like scrambling, running through these checks, and I was like, dude, I was like, something's wrong. So they had to abort takeoff, but like the auto trim was stuck, and stuff like that. So they had to call an emergency, and then we had to wait for a jet, and I was on the tarmac for 8 hours
No.
on a gurney, bro.
In the sun?
Just bacon. Nowhere to go. We're just at we stopped in Kansas City to get fuel in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, just dude, bacon. It sucks.
Bro.
So yeah, that's when I was like, dude, give me fentanyl. I
want to go back.
Dude, I was feeling like shit.
Oh.
So that sucked. And then yeah, I got to California. It was a long trip, but yeah, I got to my rehab place at like 3 a.m. And then I started rehab the next day.
Fuck. So what's that look like? What's that process? You said you hated it.
Yeah, it's just like, at first I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, you just learn how to do the most basic shit. Like, dude, everything was so hard at first. It's hard to explain. I'm sure everybody that has gotten hurt knows what I'm talking about, but it's like, everything is so difficult. Like, even just moving your legs, like, around.
Yeah.
Like, learning how to leverage your body takes a while.
Yeah, okay.
Like when it's just dead weight and you gotta like learn how to pull it around.
Yeah.
It's super awkward, and you're so used to like just being normal, upright, and you can like move stuff. So it takes a little bit to learn how to leverage your body to get your butt over in your chair or out of your chair onto bed, and then like picking your feet up to get onto bed. Because my legs were pretty heavy from.
You were a tank, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I did a lot of cycling. Like, my legs actually haven't atrophied that bad. They're
Really?
still like the same size.
That's strange.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Do you know why that is, you think?
No, like literally, like everybody at the therapy place I'd go to asked me why, because they're like skin and bones. I'm like, I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they haven't. My calves have shrunk, but my thighs are like
Probably
the same.
still bigger than mine.
You think?
Yeah.
We can check. But yeah, it's like that part's cool because I'm kind of like still held together pretty strong.
That's what I mean. Like, even when you rolled in here, I'm like, bro, you look fucking good.
Thanks, man.
Like, you look fit and healthy and
Yeah, I
like,
feel like I've taken care of myself.
yeah, that's massive.
Yeah.
Like, massive.
Yeah, like
I probably look worse than I did this
no, you
time
look,
last
no,
year.
you look great. Dude.
Uh,
But yeah, it's just, dude, it's a crazy injury. Like, just learning how to take your shirt on and off, like putting on socks. Dude, I remember the first time they were teaching me how to put on socks. I was so fucking mad. Just like, can't put on socks. Laying in bed. I'm like, dude, I was so mad.
it's just the smallest things
Yeah.
that you just take for granted in normal life.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was like, so before stem cells though, I was like a noodle because like nothing worked. Like below my injury, like nothing held me together. So if I didn't have both my hands set on something, I would fall. Like,
Really?
fold. Yeah.
So now, like, yeah, because you're like fairly stable.
Yeah,
like,
no, I can do a lot now compared to when I first got hurt or before my first
stem cell
treatment. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I was a noodle. Like, I was like the
Just
inflatable, whatever, dude, on the side of the,
yeah.
like, that's how I looked. I was just a noodle. So that's, I think, why I was getting so mad early on in rehab. Because, dude, if I took my hand off something sturdy, I would fall. And I was like, this is fucking miserable.
It's probably hard to like paint a picture in your head of how you can go forward in life like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, straight up, I didn't want to live like that. Like, just being honest. Like,
Yeah, did you have like thoughts of that?
oh, yeah, 100%. Like, dude, it's a shitty injury, man. Anybody going through it, I guarantee has had the same thought.
So what stops you in that moment?
Dude, honestly, my wife, bro, like, she's awesome. Like, she's like saved my life, straight up. So,
Nah, fucking
sorry.
nah. Oh, I'm right there with you, bro.
Sorry about that.
Nah, man, fuck you. I'm there too. Don't worry. It's
Yeah.
man. I mean, even like just the conversations I've had with her was so cool. You know, like just like super positive.
Yeah. No, she's
You know, like
she's awesome, man. She's done a lot for me. She like stepped the fuck up.
I couldn't.
Like, she's so good. Like, I remember, I mean, she visited me almost every day. Like, because we live, it's like an hour and 20 minutes from my rehab place. So, and she still had weddings to do.
So you're there by yourself
Yeah. No, I mean, she showed up.
for the most part.
Yeah,
like,
for the most part by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had like, we had, the rooms are like split in half, just like kind of by like a shower curtain, basically.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
kind of sharing
yeah.
rooms. So like people were there all the time. A lot of the nurses were really cool. I was at Casa Cleanup in Pomona. I don't know if you've ever heard of that place, but like Hartraft went there when he broke his back. So I've actually visited there to visit him. And then actually my room was freaking next door to his room at first. So it's kind of full circle moment a little bit, but yeah, I mean, she was really busy, freaking doing her profession, trying to do weddings because she has contracts that she can't really.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think she missed 3.
Well, and then
when
you're out
we're-
of fucking work.
Yeah, and I'm out of work.
So
and
now she's
the sole provider, you know. So, yeah, man, a lot has changed, you know. But she's crushed it. Seriously, my wife's awesome.
you're so lucky.
I know, I am, dude. Because I mean, I would say both. I don't want to say most people would leave in that moment, but like, I mean, so much changes. It's crazy. Your whole life gets flipped upside down.
I'm assuming there's a lot of guilt too that you probably feel for that.
Oh yeah, dude. I still struggle for sure, but it's like, it's hard for me. Like I was always so independent, and I loved to help my wife with things.
Yeah.
Like I took a lot of like, it would make me feel good.
Yep.
And now like,
The roles are completely reversed.
yeah, dude, like she's got to like get things like down from like a shelf for me and stuff like that. And it's like, that's so hard. Or even like taking the trash cans down. Like that's one thing I struggled with early on is like accepting that. Because I've always enjoyed making it so like when my wife came home from doing a wedding, she didn't like have shit to do. Even though I was busy training, racing, traveling, but like, I don't know, just taking care of your wife. You know, you like take pride in that.
100%.
I still do what I can. Like, I mean, dude, I do a lot around the house still. It takes me a little bit longer.
yeah. But you've also got more time.
Yeah, but now I got more time and I work remote and stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I do my part. Try to.
I think that's one of the most kind of painful things about injuries and just anyone that goes through an injury, right? Like I remember my last big injury, I like fractured my hip.
Dude,
Fuck,
I've heard that hurts. I've never
brutal.
done it, but
It was brutal. You know what's crazy? I started losing a lot of feeling.
Did you pinch a nerve?
Nah, I did like a degloving injury. So I ripped the skin. Oh, bro, the photos are fucking insane.
Oh, you got to show me this.
So I ripped the skin off like my lower back and my arse cheek. And so the skin and the muscle detached.
Oh, okay.
And so that whole cavity of my lower back filled up with blood. And
did you have a hematoma? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, okay. Like, but it was just like
massive.
Dude, so much blood. It was like they said it was like a full bottle of Coke worth of blood. And but it started like swelling and like pressing on my spine.
Okay.
And so I started walking with like a real weird foot, and I was like
limp foot, like knuckling your feet or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck. And this was like a couple of days after.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not doing good.
Dude, I remember being in the MRI, and I was like by myself. So I was single at the time, lived in a apartment on the second floor with just stairs.
Yeah.
And then you go through that time, and you start to feel guilty about, can you come help me do this? I need you to do the groceries. And that's for 5 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And you feel like everyone that's had an injury, anyone that's done an ACL,
and then
you're on the couch, and you just start to feel guilty about.
Yeah, it's like a burden feeling, kind of.
Yeah,
you're like, I don't really want to ask for help.
But
you have to.
But that's like a temporary thing. But now your
permanent
life is about having to ask people to do. And obviously, there's the people in your life love you and would, no matter, it's never an issue.
Yeah.
But that feeling that you would have, I could see that being a thing that stays a struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. Like I've gotten better with it. Because I kind of found my place in like what I can and can't do.
Yep.
It was worse early on just because it's like I wanted to do everything and then get really frustrated that I can't.
Yeah.
But now we figured it out, like our system that works for us and stuff like that. We started doing, what's it called, Instacart.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And dude, that's like awesome. Crazy.
Maybe I should start doing that in
general.
Yeah,
dude, it's kind of nice. Like
sounds good.
Yeah, like it's kind of nice, like just picking up the groceries at the door.
Yeah. It's
like kind of, I feel lazy, but it's like for me, I actually like can't go get groceries.
Yeah.
Like not easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, we figured out kind of what works and what doesn't.
So you're in the rehab for 3 months.
Yes.
And so is that process, what's that about? Like what, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but what's like the real goal of that for them?
So you're in there like 3 to 4 hours a day. You have OT, occupational therapy, and PT, physical therapy. So occupational therapy, you learn how to put shoes and socks on, clothes, how to bathe, like how to take a shit again, doing your own catheters, stuff like that, like learning how to live. And then physical therapy, honestly, like, I mean, you're kind of like, I was in a back brace. Like, you're kind of like, I don't want to say it doesn't do anything, but at that time, you're so fresh in the injury, you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, you're in a wheelchair or you like transfer onto a bench. Well, that's like probably what they teach you first is how to transfer from like a bed to your wheelchair. And then from there, you practice transfers for like probably 3 days. That's kind of like all you do in PT, honestly.
Yeah.
Learn how to not fall.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they're just basically like that whole period. It's not so much about like, let's get as much feeling back as possible.
No.
And like, it's just like, let's just teach you how to live this new life. That
live. Like they don't, I don't want to say they don't care if you like
that's not their goal.
That's not their goal. Their goal is to like get you to learn how to transfer into a chair, to take a shit.
Is that hard?
You just like do your like it's called self-stim. So you gotta like put your finger up there.
No way.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
how you do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that never goes. That's just the routine.
There. Yeah. So like people that get function back, bladder and bowel is the last that ever comes back. So a lot of like people that end up walking still have to do that.
Dude, you know what? I know some people like that actually, but I never really even asked about like way like the catheter thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, but to like go number 2, it's like a way bigger process.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So like, because at first with my injury, like I had no diaphragm, like I couldn't sneeze, I couldn't cough, like nothing.
Yeah, wait. All right. So,
Like you had no like pressure.
yeah, because you have to get like you have to
Yeah, I couldn't do
contract.
nothing. Dude, I actually almost freaking died. Like it was actually the first night. I had my first meal after surgery and a blood clot came out of my lung. The same time I was taking a freaking my first bite. So I choked on the food and the blood clot got stuck in my esophagus because it was a big one. And dude, I'm like turning blue. The doctors are freaking out and they stick this like huge vacuum down my throat and it like plugged the line so they had to get a new one because it was like so thick. Dude, I was like actually about to suffocate.
What
Dude, it was
the
crazy.
fuck?
Yeah, it almost got me.
Bro,
Crazy.
imagine
Yeah,
that.
I know, right?
Everything
I
you
go
go
out like
through.
that.
Dude.
I know.
Well, that's like, you know what we were saying before? Like, it's you could have got hit by a bus. The fucking plane almost crashed.
Dude,
that,
I
like,
know.
flew you.
I know.
You know, like,
It was trying to get me. I almost choked in the plane. Almost got me.
you're like, last year of your life is like,
I know, it's
Final
crazy.
Destination, Jerry Robin.
I know,
Like,
that's how it feels, dude.
that is crazy,
Yeah,
dude.
it's nuts.
Fucking blood clot and a mouthful of food.
Yeah. But I couldn't cough. I was sitting there like
Can you cough now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so since stem cells, I regained diaphragm function. So now I'm like, I can like exhale pretty hard. Because before you like, even to exhale, like when you breathe, you're like barely pushing the air out. You have like no power. So weird.
And the man, it's so fucked up that the whole stem cell thing and these therapies, like, I mean, people should be able to sign up for whatever they want.
Yeah, and it's like some people still like look down on it.
Fuck them.
You know, it's
Honestly.
like, and I understand like looking at like medical things like that, like maybe like you wouldn't do it, but to like actually look down on people that try it or this or that, like
Well,
it's
that's
definitely
like-
helped me.
I was gonna say,
100%.
If you imagine going through your life not being able to cough,
Yeah, I know.
like just think about the follow-on effect. So you do stem cells, you get a bit of the side feeling back, you can cough, you can swallow properly, like all of that shit.
Yeah.
Think about, okay, the follow-on effects of your life. You can do cardio.
Yeah.
Like you could just never train if
Yeah, I
you
know.
can't actually breathe out or cough. Like you could choke on anything.
I know.
If you-
That's
like,
one thing. It's like, I'm so glad because like now, like if I ever do choke again or something gets stuck in my throat,
You
like
just
I
cough.
can cough.
So like there's
You know?
something so simple as some stem cell
Yeah.
treatment
Helps
that's
with
done
that.
all over the world. Literally can save your life. And then not only that, the quality of your life going forward, just because you can breathe, exhale properly.
Yeah.
Like now you can do cardio. Now you can train. The fitness, the quality of life. Like
Yeah, no, the quality of my life definitely got a lot better from doing stem cells, for sure. Like way more stable, like less of a fall risk out of my chair, which is huge. Yeah, man, like I don't know. It's weird when I think back to like my first couple weeks at therapy to where I am now. Dude, I'm like so much stronger and like more safe in day-to-day life. It's crazy.
So was that mentally the hardest time? Was it being in the rehab facility?
Yeah, I wanted to leave there because I technically kind of checked out early because like I was like, dude, I'd rather because like in therapy at the end of it, you're technically supposed to learn how to like get in and out of a car and kind of learn how to go up and down curbs with your wheelchair, like wheeling and stuff like that. But I skipped all that, and I was like, dude, I want to go home, make my own mistakes, and learn real life stuff. Because like at therapy, you kind of like everything's like kind of like perfect. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like everything's like it can be adjusted to the height of your chair, or
Yes, it's not real world.
yeah, it's
They're,
like
they're like making you like work in a bubble.
yeah, it's kind of it's just kind of like it's definitely beneficial, but I feel like in real world situations, like if you left there and fell out of your chair, like I don't know, the next day, I feel like you'd probably freak out because you're like,
I just did all this therapy.
yeah,
This
it's
wasn't
like
supposed to happen.
yeah, like not the same.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, I don't know. I feel like that's why I wanted to get home so bad. It's just to learn, you know, how to transfer into my bed instead of the hospital bed because it can be adjusted and like everything's like perfect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So-
And there's nothing worse than being around a bunch of sick people. That
Yeah, dude,
vibe, the heaviness in that place.
It was tough being in there. Like they have like a spinal cord injury group, and they would like not force me to go, but pretty much for my last Wednesday, it was every Wednesday, but my last Wednesday there, they were like, you really should go, like bugging me to go. And I was like, fine, I'll go, it was good. It was beneficial, but like, it's very, like, I just wanted to get out of there because I felt kind of not in place. Because like everybody around me was very, like still like not willing to move forward or like learn to be independent.
So they kind of like, maybe they felt safe in the rehab facility and they just wanted to stay there and just.
Because some people are there for a long time.
Really?
Long time.
They just don't want to get back to
4 or
reality.
5 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I totally get. I lived the injury, still do, but it's like, I don't know. I just want to get home with my wife and dogs. So I was like willing to kind of push myself past my comfortability early to get home.
Yeah.
You know?
And what was it like to get home?
So thankfully we already had a single story house.
Yeah.
So it was like pretty easy. And my neighbor, Jim, he's an engineer. So at his work, he like ended up making me custom ramps and stuff. He like came over. Yeah, dude, he was awesome. Like he took care of our dogs when Jen was at New Jersey with me. Dude, he's like a lifesaver, honestly.
That's amazing.
He's super cool. Yeah. Like, so he built me ramps. So when I got home, everything was like pretty seamless, really. And then we had like a shower bench so I could shower, the thing on the toilet to go to the bathroom. And I ended up just buying like a new bed that could like lift up.
Yeah.
Like
a hospital bed.
Kind of like a hospital bed.
Yep.
Yeah, just to sit up, which I never ended up using it. Just because I have like a handle on the side of my bed to grab and just pull myself up. So, yeah, I don't know. But life early on, the hardest part was learning, getting in the car and taking apart my wheelchair without getting pissed. Like, dude, I was getting so fired up early. Oh my God, I get pissed. But now I can do it in like, I don't know, like 30 seconds. Like it's super quick.
Yeah.
Once you learn the process.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Looking back now, how like efficient I am to what I was getting frustrated with early, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. What would you tell the version of you that was in rehab right now? If you could, like, the Jerry Robin rolls in day one at rehab, and then the you right now rolls in to have a bit of a chat with him.
I would just say like it does get better and easier. Like no matter what, at the end of the day, the injury sucks. Like there's no way around it. But if you look at it a certain way, you can either go through it or let it break you. You know, I mean, I feel like in life, there's usually two options. You either make it work or you let it fucking hurt you. You know, it's pretty simple. You know, I feel like you've experienced it, you know, moving to different countries, starting a podcast.
Not to the extent.
I know, but like
yeah,
every situation,
yes,
you can either let it make you or break you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Man, have you ever read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations? You been reading much?
I did a lot early on, but now since I've been pretty busy at home, I actually really like to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Read that. So there's a
Okay.
quote. I'm not going to get the exact quote. Maybe look up. Let me just give me 1 second. So he basically, now I've lost the quote in my head. But he basically says like, every man gets, like you can't control the things that you get given to you in life, but you can control your attitude towards the things that are given, you know, and like that is what makes a man. And
Absolutely.
that's what you're talking about, you know, like you're talking about life handing you this situation and then you just dealing with it in the, like with the right attitude, you know?
Yeah, man.
You should read this book. Just go to Marcus Aurelius quotes. Let's see what he was much better at this than me. Quotes by, there we go. This is another one that I fucking way there. I live by this. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. 100%.
That's the whole thing right
Yeah.
there. Think about that for your whole life, and you'll be fine. Yeah, I'll find it for you. I'll send you this book.
Okay, yeah,
I'll get you a copy. That can be the podcast present from today.
All right, let's go.
It's unreal. So basically, like, Marcus Aurelius was the fucking emperor of Rome.
Okay.
And he was like, had all of the pressure, all of the like wars and famines and all the shit that was going on in his life. And he was just like a stoic.
Yeah.
And he basically like, he wrote this, it was like his journal. Like he was writing to himself about the
Through
best
his
version
experiences.
of himself.
Yeah.
And it was never meant to be published. It was never meant to be.
That's cool.
Yeah. Like, but people found it after he died.
No, I love
And
shit
now
like
it's
this.
one
It's
of
cool.
the like most sold books of
Yeah,
all
no,
time.
I love stuff like this. It's cool.
It's unreal. Dude, I listen to it like if I can't sleep at night or if I'm like having trouble winding down, there's a bunch of dudes on YouTube because a bunch of it's like random shit like how to deal with cattle like because he's just like it's his own journal. But there's like a 30-minute like audio book version of like the really meaningful quotes.
Okay.
And it's like
That
30
people
minutes.
can.
Yeah, you just listen to it. Like I just listen to it
Yeah, that's cool.
before bed if I'm
I like
having
that.
one of those nights. But
Yeah.
fucking unreal. There's so much in it.
Yeah, there's so much good out there too. Like, you know, I mean, if you're looking for it, you're gonna find it. And same thing with negative. You know, if you're looking and thinking about the negative, that's all you see. You know, it's like I don't know. I've heard a quote about. I think it was Simon Sinek says it, but it's like seeing the path. Like if you're a skier through the trees, and all you see is if you look at the trees, all you see is the trees and where you're gonna hit.
Yeah.
Or if you look at the trail, you go through the trail.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just where you put your focus.
So
Really.
was it hard in the start to get back to that? Because you're obviously in a place where you're like, I just kind of want to end this ride. Like I'm fucking done. My life is over. What's the process of getting to that optimistic place to where you are now?
Honestly, dude, it's just like getting out of rehab and like trying to get back to as normal as I can in life. Like things that I enjoyed, like training. I mean, a lot of my hobbies I kind of can't do, so it's kind of tough to like find new stuff. But just the biggest adjustment was like the way slower lifestyle.
Yeah.
Took a while to get used to that.
That's a real thing.
Dude, like, I mean, I'd be on a flight every Thursday, Sunday.
You'd be doing press day right now.
Yeah. And like racing, traveling, get home. I'd literally get home from the airport on Sunday and go for an hour and a half recovery ride. Go to sleep, get stuff ready for Monday practice, go practice Monday, and then usually Tuesday I do a 2-hour bike ride and gym. Wednesday, another session, riding, recovery ride. I don't know. I did so much cycling. It was crazy. And then, Thursday, go fly. And it's just like you rinse and repeat, and you almost get like in your own world kind of thing. And then when I was like done with it, and I still like kind of deal with it now, where I'm like, dude, it's so weird. Like how busy I was.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like you didn't even have time to think.
Yeah. But that kind of feels good though.
Yeah.
Like
And that's where it's like, early on, I'm like, dude, this is crazy that people like have this much time to like think about stuff. I hated it.
Yeah. Dude, I have weeks, entire weeks. I don't sit on my couch
Yeah.
at all. I have like my little island where I eat breakfast, like I eat my meals, and then I have my office,
Yeah.
and then I have my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I can go an entire week without even physically sitting on my couch.
Yeah.
Maybe the only time I will sit on the couch in a whole week is to watch Supercross.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
If I'm even at home to watch Supercross. Like there is quite a dizzying pace of life
Yeah.
that people can create.
And I
for
did
themselves.
it for so long too.
Yeah.
I mean, I
For
guess
that to just stop
yeah, it's hard.
would be difficult for anybody.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing dealing with that, like the lifestyle change. And just like now work on a computer and like it's way slower paced, which I've gotten used to it now. But yeah, at first it was definitely a struggle.
There would be beauty in that though.
Yeah. No, I'm like honestly way less stressed out.
For sure, dude. Yeah.
Like I said it to my wife like early on when I got home. I was like, dude, I kind of feel bad, but like
I'm chilling.
I'm like, like, dude, this is like it's bad, obviously, but it's like I'm like way less stressed out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, pretty easy going.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Can I, when you finish up there, can I get a Gypsy juice off you?
Oh, yeah. The SOTA Fuel?
Yeah. Have you had any yet?
No.
Dude,
I'd love to try it.
I wish I had another fucking water bottle. I left my other water bottle at home. Is there any water bottles? Oh, you got one? Oh, dog. What a guy.
Look at that.
Yeah, hit
Some SOTA Fuel, dude. Hit me with it.
Hit this shit, bro.
Hit this shit.
Let's get hydrated.
Yeah. There we go.
You could probably run, maybe not. You could probably run a full packet in that. It's a big bottle. Thanks, bro.
So when did you come out with this? It's got to be recent.
It's been like kind of in the works for a couple of years.
Okay.
Let me know what you think of that. It's been in the works for a couple of years. It was kind of like a sponsor thing. Like they were like, hey, we're working on this thing. I want you to like sponsor it. So then I came up with my own flavor, and I've kind of just been like working on the brand in the background with them the whole time.
Oh, cool.
And then the boys are there's 2 Aussie boys in it with me.
Oh, cool.
And they were just like,
From back home?
yeah.
Just like one of your boys?
No, I just met them like kind of through the podcast. Like they both
really?
just listened to the pod. And then they were like, dude, would you want to like actually be a part of this? And I was like, I fucking actually would.
That's awesome. How does this process look like start to finish doing a supplement like that?
You have to, you basically just got to like figure out your formulation.
Okay.
And then, so we wanted like, because have I ever told you about like the whole kidney thing that I got going on?
No.
I was born with 1 kidney.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I never knew. And I fucked myself up
Okay.
on a snowboard trip.
Bruise your kidney or something, and then you're like, oh, you only got 1, buddy.
So, dude, I almost like fully fucking died.
Yeah.
Like it was gnarly. So, 2016, I am with Wes Williams, and we were
This
like,
is lemon lime? Or no, it's gypsy juice?
yeah, boy. What are the flavors you reckon? What are we running in there?
Is it pineapple?
Yeah, and something else.
Guava?
It's passion fruit.
Oh, okay. I was
Close.
close.
Yeah. So I was snowboarding with Wes, and dude, it was like I fucking remember the moment this old lady, pink helmet, pink goggles,
Okay.
pink jacket, pink pants,
Just decked out.
pink ski boots,
Can't
pink
miss her.
skis, dude.
Yeah.
And she fucking gets off the lift, and like her feet, like her ski kicks
Go.
up,
Oh,
and
from
she
under?
just fucking goes like straight down the hill. And I've just come out of the tree line,
Yeah.
jumped kind of like onto the groomed run. And as I've like jumped, this fucking old lady is just like right in front of me. So I've kind of like gone forwards to not hit this
Yeah.
lady, and landed and just cartwheeled.
Oh, yeah.
And so I elbowed myself like this.
Okay. Trying to tuck.
Yeah, I just hit the fucking ground so hard. And then here, and I just felt like it just didn't feel right.
Yeah,
know?
you could tell. Dude,
So-
when you have internal stuff, you know instantly.
Yeah. And so we're in Tahoe. So we used to basically like, we'd like just come back from Alden's. We filmed, we come back, and then we'd go to Tahoe and edit. So
Okay.
Wes had like a sick Tahoe house. So then we'd snowboard all day, come home, edit all night, snowboard all day, edit all night. So that was just the program.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up like taking myself down the hill, and I'm just like laying in the truck bed. Everyone else is still snowboarding.
just
I was by
hurting.
myself.
Yeah, just hurting.
Hurting, bro. Get back to his place, and I feel like I've got a decent pain threshold from riding. I've broke a bunch of bones,
Yeah.
all that shit. Dude, I'm like shaking.
Oh, you went in
in
shock?
pain. Like, yeah, full on. Then I start pissing blood, and Wes is like, dude, we got to go to the
yeah.
hospital. I'm like, I don't have any insurance. I'm fucking broke. Like, I can't go to the
Yeah,
hospital.
That's
So
not
I
right.
went to bed being like, I in my head, I'm like, I would fucking rather die than leave my family with $1
Hospital.
million medical
Yeah,
bill.
medical bill.
Like,
Isn't that
this is
sad to think about?
literally,
oh my God,
dude.
yeah.
I'm like, this is my fault. I'm the retard that didn't have insurance. I'm
Yeah.
the retard that crashed. I'm not gonna ruin my family's
trying to
life
like own
over
it.
the-
Yeah, you're trying to like
yeah.
own it. You're like, dude, I'm willing to die.
And like my mum's
Yeah.
like trying to buy travel. I'm like, bro, it's too late. So then anyway,
gone.
I wake up in the morning. I drive from Tahoe to California, and
no
then
way.
I was like better in the day, and I was like, all right,
You were probably in denial.
yeah. And I'm like, I think I'm all right.
Yeah.
A couple days later, just start throwing up.
Yeah.
And then I just was in this cycle of like every 2 days, I would just fucking throw up everything I ate. So I was literally for a month before I went back to Australia eating fruit salad and Gatorade because it tasted fine when I threw up.
Yeah, okay.
Because I knew I was
Gonna throw
I
up.
was going to throw up. And so I had a couple of work things that I had to get done, and then I flew back to Australia. So I fly back to Australia. I was living with a fucking gnarly dude at the time. So he had like every pharmaceutical drug that you could
think of.
imagine.
Yeah.
So I took like a Xanax and a Valium, and like I couldn't.
You were chilling.
Dude, I can't believe they let me on the fucking plane. But
Yeah.
I was like yellow because my kidney stopped working.
Yeah,
So I only had one kidney. Stops working. So I get home.
So you were shutting down.
Yeah. Get home, go to hospital.
It's a long flight.
Yeah, dude. And I was like
15 hours?
Yeah, 14 hours. I was out. Get home, go to the doctor, and they're like, dude, we can't see like anything wrong. So then I'm like, cool, whatever. I'm dealing with something. I thought it was like a stomach issue because of like I was just throwing up. So then I fly to the Adelaide 500. It's like our NASCAR version. Fly to that to help my brother. Land. I didn't even have an Australian phone. I haven't lived in Australia for 6 years at this point. Didn't even have a phone. So then my brother just starts like running up to me. He's like, dude, you got to go to the hospital right now. So they fucking found in one of my scans that I'd like severed the valve that goes from like your kidney to your bladder.
Oh, really?
And then they're like, still no one had any idea that I only had one kidney.
So it was like kidney waste going in your stomach? Were you on septic?
And yeah. So then they're like, they basically were like, you had 5% kidney function. So they're like, you need to go to the hospital right now. So they're like, call an ambulance. I was like, cool. Got in a taxi, got a taxi to the fucking hospital. And then I was in hospital for 2 weeks. They're like, dude,
how'd you make it?
My blood pressure was like 225 over fucking
God.
one.
You're like you didn't have a stroke.
Literally.
Or dude.
So then I have a surgery. I find out I was born with one kidney. Had no idea.
So how did the first hospital miss it?
I just went to the doctors.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like I was telling that I was having stomach problems.
Like they didn't really do scans.
No, I did an ultrasound.
Okay.
So I did an ultrasound, and then I can't remember exactly what went down, but basically the chick fucked up the ultrasound, basically. So then, get there. I have to have this emergency surgery, come out of surgery, start convulsing, like crazy blood pressure. They had to fucking do the whole crash cart shit. I had like 10 doctors around,
Oh my God, that's terrifying. When was this?
2016.
Okay.
So it starts like, I was in and out of hospital for 6 months, basically like trying to rebuild the function of my kidney because they're like, you've only got one. So this is like, you would need to be careful.
Yeah.
At the end of the whole thing, so I would have like these crazy headaches.
From blood pressure?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
that's kind of what AD is that we get. You got a crazy headache.
Bro.
And it spikes.
No way.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Like your central nervous system freaks out.
Yep.
And just...
So
you get a pounding headache.
That's what I fucking get. So I did the commentary for the World Supercross in South Africa. So
did you get it then?
Yes. Okay. So when I get dehydrated,
freaks out.
My kidney puts a lot of stress on my kidney, and then my blood pressure just goes fucking crazy, dude. I cannot get out of bed.
Yeah.
Like I have to get an IV. So I start trying to drink water. Sorry for everyone. This is a long fucking story.
No, you're good.
But I try and drink water, but it's too late at this point.
Yeah.
And then I just start throwing up. So then you get more dehydrated and more
So that's kind of how this came about.
Yeah. So you just get in a fucking tailspin, dude. And then I've got to go to hospital. So then I fly to South Africa, and then we stand in the sun for like 3 hours doing this pre-race TV thing. No water because I didn't drink enough on the plane. I didn't fucking I got dehydrated when I got there. I had coffee because I just got off a flight and had to do this live TV thing. Anyway, so the doctor basically said, like, these headaches that you're getting and like, this is very, very dangerous for you. Like you can die from this if you don't take this seriously. And he just said hydration is like one of the biggest things. And I get nauseous if I drink a lot of water.
Okay.
Like just to like, I don't know, for whatever reason. But that's a thing too.
Yeah, it's hard for me to drink straight water too.
Yeah. So then I would have electrolytes.
Okay.
But I fucking hate electrolytes with like bulk sugar and all that shit.
Yep.
So liquid IV is good. So not liquid IV. Liquid IV fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar.
So much sugar.
Yeah.
Element's good.
Element,
But it has tons of B12 in it.
Okay.
And that shit can fuck you up.
Yeah.
if you have
Too much of it. Yeah.
So like for me, I want to drink. I basically was just like trying to find something that had no sugar, no B12, no bullshit. I just need sodium, potassium, calcium. Just
It was hard to find.
and really wasn't out there.
Yeah.
You know. So then these guys, these boys would hear me talk about it on the podcast all the time because I just didn't realize like I'd spent my whole life
Living with
basically chronically dehydrated and fucking myself up. So then it became like a thing. I was like, dude, this actually makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
These boys reached out.
That's cool.
It was a perfect thing. So,
That's awesome.
it's crazy. Like, it's crazy how hard it is to build.
Oh, I bet.
Like, I just was like, oh yeah,
Let's do it.
We'll just we'll
Yeah, and then
fucking
like
kill
the
it.
actual deep ins and outs of it, you're probably like, holy fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And this is just a little powder supplement. Like imagine like a full on like, oh my God, dude. I can't imagine operating like something like that big.
Well, the boys like they do a lot of the back end stuff.
That side
you
of
know,
things,
so
yeah.
like you'll text me your address, I'll put it in our spreadsheet. He'll get product.
Yeah,
you know?
they do that side.
So they do that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting process.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of similar with me at FXR. Like, do a lot of amateur like connecting with the riders and stuff like that. But if they have like any like orders or anything like that, like I kind of like send them to our guy that fills out orders and stuff like that. Like I'm not actually doing that, but it's been cool to like learn that side of things. Like seeing a big operation like FXR and how it runs, dude. It's like there's a lot to it, a lot of moving parts.
Oh, any business that's successful or doing anything, I mean, people would be blown away at the back end of Gypsy Tales.
Oh, I bet.
Like the shit.
No, this spot is sweet. And this is just the room you shoot in, but all the back end stuff. I see it with my wife, like seeing what she does for weddings. It's a lot of work behind the scenes, man, to make it work.
We're just always doing the most random shit that you wouldn't think of. You know, like how I've got 6 people that work for the podcast that are all in different cities.
Yeah,
and
that's hard.
different countries
That's
and
hard.
different time zones. And it's like, how do you organize so that everyone can access everything at the same time? The computer goes down here and that goes down there. Like, how do you do it? Someone's got to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one,
man.
you know,
That's tough.
there's no one that, like, you just call them like, oh, where do I do this? Like, you have to build.
Figure it out.
You have to build the processes, you know.
Yeah.
How do we get onto, where were we at? We were talking
don't
about,
know.
we went on a
I feel
fucking
like this happened last time.
mad tangent, yeah. What were we talking about before we started talking about?
You're talking about meditations and like
Oh, the quotes, maybe?
like going through the future of like how do you work on from after therapy.
Yeah.
Went to SOTA Fuel.
I did a lot of visualization.
Really?
A lot. I still do.
Thanks,
like,
Pierce.
like, dude, so now it's my new home gym that I got from Major Fitness.
Yeah, pull up the post. Let's get some love. Let's get we
Major
need
Fitness, dude.
up the deliverables here.
Yeah,
Send
dude,
them this.
I'm gonna have to, dude. This will be huge for them.
Really?
Actually, oh yeah, like they're a really big company, but they're making a pretty big push on social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been really cool. Like, so
So
staying.
play that. Or is it this one? The
Yeah, that should.
go to the right.
Yeah,
go to
that
the
one.
right. Nah, other one. Yeah, that to
The one in the middle.
yeah, the middle one.
Of
yeah,
that one.
Yeah. And then you should be able to turn the volume up down the bottom there.
Yeah, I think if
It's a bit too quiet.
Major Fitness.
Yep.
So yeah, they specialize in like home gyms and equipment and all that stuff. And dude, like so we got the deal done. Like I signed like the contract for content and everything like that. And dude, the fucking next day, the whole thing was at my house.
No shit.
In one day. I was like, dude, how is this even possible? But yeah, so a bunch of boxes showed up and me and my wife put it together. She crushed it. She was using power tools and shit.
That's awesome.
Dude, it was actually pretty impressive. Like I had to teach her how to use a DeWalt impact and everything, and she freaking knocked it out. dude.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, you know, you were saying before about like how you feel bad that you can't do as much as like what you used to do.
Yeah.
But,
no,
I
she's
mean-
like totally stepped up.
Yeah, think about how empowered that she must feel.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
Like the feeling that you had towards taking care of her. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that she's gone on a journey that has made her feel so much more capable in herself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure she would be
Yeah.
extremely
Honestly, I'd love to hear like
her side.
her side of things. Like we do talk about it, but it'd be interesting to hear like if she just had like no filter, like every thought or feeling and like hear that side.
Yeah.
Because we do talk about.
Do you guys do
that-
therapy?
No.
You should do therapy together, bro.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to try something like that. Like obviously it's been like really hard on her.
Yeah.
For sure. And but like I said, like now we figured out like processes of like how everything works for us. And it's like, honestly, I mean, our life's pretty normal
Yeah.
now. It's like back to normal as much as it can be.
Yeah. A new normal.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm like so proud of her. Honestly, she's done such a good job.
Yeah, and I'm sure that she's probably very proud of herself, or she
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, I think she is too.
Because it's in those little moments like setting up a gym. That's something that she would have never had to do because you would have taken care of that. You know, but now that you're in this new situation, there's just this whole new level of skills and that she's had to kind of learn.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of cool
one thing
as well.
that like, honestly, I've learned a lot from her on is like, not getting like, I don't know. I don't want to say like I'm a hothead or I used to be or something like I kind of was, but like she never like really gets frustrated. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I've never like seen someone like that. Like not, I don't know. She's very much like, we'll figure it out. And she like doesn't get frustrated. It's
That's
like
pretty
pretty
sick.
impressive, honestly. And I've learned a lot from her on that side of things. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You just figure it out.
Akrapovich, I will say this, best built muffler for the money.
I've never owned one in my life. They those things.
Dude, $1,600, dude.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, you will. You'll do it.
Damn you, Chris Kiefer. They've got one. This part fits your ride. 1,300 with shipping. All right, let's go. So now we just hurry up and wait. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, already.
That's unbelievable. That happened so fast. Because this order was over $79, it qualified for free shipping. And Kiefer was right. This might be the most well-built exhaust I've ever seen. And we wasted no time fitting it to my YZ450. The way the exhaust mounts on Yamahas is unique, but really simple. And in about 20 minutes, we have transformed the look, the sound, and the engine characteristics of this 450. All that's left to do is hit the track. As usual, Kiefer was right. The Acro took the power of the Yami and put it in all the right places. It was smooth off the bottom, but still meaty, and I loved the new exhaust note. To transform your next ride, hit the link in the description and head to motosport.com. And right now, if you head to motosport.com/win, you can enter their ultimate ride sweepstakes and win a YZ450F of your own.
So
The therapy thing though, like, dude, it's
Yeah.
the best.
Oh, I
Like,
bet.
If you guys can get, I say it here all the time, like, me and my wife, we've been seeing the same lady for 2 years.
okay.
And we probably haven't done something for like 2 months now. Just life's busy.
Yeah.
We're on the same place. We don't have any
Yeah.
fires to put out.
Yeah.
But like we have a session Monday night,
Okay.
and like we're both excited for it.
That's cool.
It's not like a negative thing.
Thing. Yeah.
We've got a couple. It's funny, like we'll have a couple little, like you have a blow up,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll just be like, you know what? Let's just talk to her about it.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like,
Oh, that's cool.
she's going to hear about this. And I'm like, cool.
That's fine.
And then she's like,
Yeah.
but this is what you wanted because now you know that I'll be over it by the time we get there. And I'm like, well, that's also good.
yeah.
Like, isn't that?
It's a win-win.
Yeah. Like, so
Yeah.
it's obviously not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But we both like actually look forward to
That's
talking
awesome.
to this lady.
Yeah.
It's like such a different thing.
Yeah.
And there's times where it's very much about like solving problems that we
Mm-hmm.
have with each other. And other times it's about solving problems together as a team with our family or with
Yeah.
this or with, you know, other things like,
Yeah.
but you know, you, in that process, like you probably would get to hear her perspective.
Yeah,
on
dude, I would
things a
love
lot
to
more.
hear
Like it
like
would be interesting.
yeah, like she's been on a couple podcasts, like the two Moto Wives. I forgot.
Yeah.
I think it's In
Yeah.
Her Lane
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And she went on that, and another one I forgot what it was called, but it's always interesting to hear like her perspective because it's so much different than mine.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she's able to still like walk and like do her thing, but she sees like the struggles I go through. But yeah, it'd be kind of to hear, I don't know, because she doesn't really talk about like the day that everything happened, but it'd be kind of interesting if she like opened up on a podcast or something and just like other wives would probably like love to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing your loved one or spouse or anyone go through something like this from the outside perspective.
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't know. Kind of interesting to hear that.
Fuck, it would be heavy.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys build here? So, get yourself for your new partnership. So, get maybe the middle one. Go back to that middle one again.
Yeah, so it's just like a full functional like Smith machine trainer.
Yeah, right.
And so yeah, it has cables, Smith machine obviously, and then they sent me like a bench press rack. So friggin' hitting chest heavy, dude.
I was gonna say, I feel like your chest is bigger. Your
Hitting
chest and
heavy,
shoulders
dude.
is actually
Yeah,
bigger
dude.
than the last time I saw
hitting
you.
chest heavy, bro. So yeah, I've been. It's kind of nice to kind of get back into weights because actually, when I first turned pro, bro, I was like, I gotta find this photo. It was after my first ever heat race, and I was fucking jacked.
Really?
But I was like overly muscular, like where it was not good for racing. Like I had no
Do you get
endurance.
Do you bulk up quick though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You've
Yeah.
got that kind of frame.
So my brother's roommate was in the army, and he like broke his foot, so he was at home. So we just like he was in a boot, and dude, it was after my first 3 nationals for Blue Buffalo, right when I turned pro, and we were just bored, and just I followed him to the gym, and dude got super into it. I got up to like 190 pounds.
Damn.
And I was fucking yoked.
Yoked.
Yeah, and then I started riding Supercross, and I could do like 2 laps.
Fuck, that's so funny.
yeah.
So you're just gonna get you're gonna be a fridge.
Yeah, the upper body.
I mean, you're still pretty fucking ripped now.
Can't do legs, but I'll be hitting chest.
Look,
And
man,
back.
I got legs and I don't do legs, so fuck.
Dude, you should use them while you got them.
Yeah, true. Oh, that's like my fucking wife's thing. She's just like, she writes the program
Okay.
for the gym.
Yeah.
So like when she's here and like I just have to do whatever.
Yeah.
And she's just like, we're doing legs. I'm like,
Like,
surely we could do chest.
everybody hates legs.
Surely
So
we could do chest.
Even like back then, like my all-time favorite was always back.
Yeah.
Back is always my favorite to hit.
Yeah. How much
So-
back stuff can you do now?
So that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, because it's hard. Because like a lot of the back stuff, you're on like a flat bench and your feet are in front of you. You know, like doing like a low
Yeah.
like lat thing and everything. It's just like kind of hard to figure out how I can get set up to still do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times I can't do that much weight because without core, I'll just friggin' fall forward.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough. I mean,
So
you can
does
see my
this-
back right there, dude.
I know. Look at the motherfucker.
Look at that thing. Dang.
You'd smoke me on that right now. I could guarantee it.
So yeah, like just using my arms, I got to my best one was a 5K at a 2:58 average.
Brother.
And I was like, dude,
Ripping.
I was hurting. After that
Ripping.
one, I was like, whew, couldn't breathe.
How good did that feel though?
Good to push myself again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I still got a little competitiveness.
I got that
in me.
dog in
Yeah, I
me
still
still,
got it
yeah.
a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
dude, one thing I got a hand cycle and I was like fully committed to like I was like I want to go for like the Olympics, and I don't know if it's just because I did so much training for like years and years. Like I still enjoy it, but I'm kind of like burnt out of like the racing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude.
I don't know. It's like weird. I really thought I was gonna like hit it head on and just be super into it, but like going to go racing, I'm like, nah. I still enjoy training, but like the thought of like being a racer again, I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like I closed that chapter.
Well, that's
A
what
little
we-
bit.
That's what we were talking about before we went on the fucking
Okay.
sidebar.
Yeah,
was
probably.
Chill. You
Yeah,
chill.
chilling out.
You know, like I mean, dude, I got friends that have like recently retired from sport, and they still just have this like frenetic energy. They're still like, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna that whole to like down regulate, and I
Yeah.
think that's a nervous system thing.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah, totally.
literally the momentum of your life. Your nervous system gets wired to just fire in a certain way, just on and I mean, even for me, like I'm a pretty busy person, and it's like like I said, I just don't even sit on a couch in a week. Like
Yeah.
you just get so used to this flow.
Yeah.
And even Pierce was talking about on the way here because I got going to Japan, go to Miami for F1, back here, Salt Lake, Europe. And it's
That's
just
a
like,
lot.
that's fucking normal.
Dude,
But
I
it's not normal, but
Yeah.
it's not like it's
I don't know. I've only
my
been out of the
normal.
country once. It was only to Mexico, so it's like pretty close.
Yeah.
But dude, like that long of a flight is brutal.
That's
Very-
just normal after,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I
and,
guess like
and you get
coming
used
from Australia.
when you just get used to it, you
Yeah.
know. But so for you were so locked into that
Mm-hmm.
grind, and then you kind of chill and get to just relax. I
Relax
mean,
a little bit.
bro,
It was nice. I'm not
There's
gonna lie.
yeah, there's beauty in that, man.
Yeah,
there's
totally.
beauty in just being in a position to just sort of enjoy life
Different.
in a different way.
Yeah, totally.
Like enjoy it from like think about the analogy of like driving fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are you going to see?
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
you've got to concentrate so much on where you're
Yeah, you
going.
don't see where you're going by.
Every turn of the wheel is going to move the car so much more.
Yeah.
Because of the speed that you're going in. Like
Yeah.
if you look away, fucking you might hit something.
Yeah.
But if you're driving slow,
You can take it all in.
dude, if you're just
Mm-hmm.
fucking cruising, take it all in. The world looks different.
It does, yeah. And that's like I said, it took a while to get used to that, for sure. Like the slower pace, not being on a plane all the time, racing, training. Took a little bit. But I do, like I said, I'm like less stressed out, for sure.
Oh man, and think about
And too, dude, like being a racer, competitor, like if you've been there, you know it. Like any person that takes sport seriously or business or anything, you get it. It's like you get so like you can be your own worst critic, hard on yourself, and that's what I don't miss because I know as soon as I like would try to go to like hand cycle racing, I'd be back to fucking hating myself, like never good enough kind of thing. You know?
yeah, dude.
Yeah. I feel like every racer's like that.
Yep.
No matter how good you do, you're like, it's like, good. Like even the year I was having, like, got 12th at a Triple Crown, or I think overall I ended up 14th. But the first one, I was like, oh, like close to the top 10. But it was like,
Still
that was
shit.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, it could have been like 10th.
yeah.
And, so I was like, dude, it's like really good. Like I was beating factory guys. And then still I come on the track, I'm like, pissed. So it's just like, you're never happy. So I can't imagine like a guy that's like a championship level guy. Like they gotta like, I mean, we're all the same, but like, it's just the different levels to it too. 'Cause, I don't know.
No.
It's crazy, man. There's so much to it that people don't see.
Yeah.
Like the average fan, what we go through. Any sports like that though,
Yeah.
at the top level.
So what's the workout program now? Like, so you got this thing. So these guys have hooked it up,
Yeah.
and it's just fucking Balkan season forever now.
Yeah, just Balkan season, dude. Yeah, I'm stoked. And so I do a lot of standing, like you can kind of see it there, which is really good for.
Yeah. So how's this work?
So I kind of just like put the Smith machine bar like in front of my knees with a pad, and I just pull myself up to like a standing position, and thankfully like my knees are able to lock out. I don't really know why that is. Like even therapists don't really know why. Like sometimes I'm even able to like let go and kind of balance there.
Yeah.
Put all the weight into my feet, but it's really good for like bone density.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
True way.
Yeah, because like eventually like your bones just get really brittle.
Yeah.
It's like an old person, they fall and break their hip.
Yeah.
So, dude, I get up there and stand for like 20, 30 minutes a day. I literally just like close my eyes and pretend I'm walking.
Really.
Yeah. Like, and I do the motion in my head. And yeah, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just eyes closed, freaking walking.
Wow.
But
That's
dude, it's crazy though. Like when you do that,
look how jacked you are, bro.
dude, right? Look at that. In there.
Yeah.
But
Just
and
get on
I'm
the trend,
Starting
dude.
my leg sleeve too.
Just get. Oh, that's a breeze now.
Yeah, don't feel a thing. I'm tough. dude.
That's a free leg sleeve.
Yeah. But yeah, man, just trying to get a little jacked.
I love that. You were saying before about like a lot of visualization.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Like the feelings, like there's always nerve pain. It's like phantom pain. Like you
Yep.
kind of feel your limbs still there, even though they're like you can't like. I mean, I could like Talladega Nights fucking stab my thigh and I wouldn't tell, But when you sit there and like visualize yourself walking and like putting weight into your heel, your foot, stepping off, and you like, like you would never think about how you walk. But like when you sit down and break down each step of how you do it, you can like, it's fucking crazy. You can like feel it. It's so weird now.
And then you see,
Like I can like picture myself putting weight on my left foot to step off and you can like feel it.
and then
super
you like
weird.
seeing it as well in your mind.
Yeah. You like pretend you're like on a beach or walking a trail. Like, I don't know, like my mental coach from racing, we did a phone call every day. I was in rehab for 3 months or two months. And yeah, dude, it was like one thing that really helped me get through rehab. It was like a phone call with her every morning. Actually, it was like super cool. She did it for free. She just like wanted to help, kind of give me something to do, So it was cool.
Was visualization a big part of your riding?
Before I got hurt, yeah, like her program, a lot of it is that.
I remember you saying that actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were working with this chick.
Yeah, she's really good. So yeah, it's definitely learned like it's a good skill to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like kind of taboo if you like don't. I don't know. You got to try it and like give it a true shot, but it does make a difference.
Yeah,
100%.
Have you got into meditation at all?
Not really. I did for a bit, like years and years ago. But I've always felt like visualization, like sitting down and like imagining it happening, worked better for me.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's really hard for me to like sit down and like think of nothing.
Yeah, but that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah, I know.
I think that I was having this conversation with, Roland Sands, the bike designer.
No.
He's like a famous bike builder, but he was at MotoGP. We were just having these like deep fucking chats at midnight every night while I was there. And we're talking about meditation and he's like, yeah, it's same. Everyone says the same thing, but it's like the point is not to think about nothing. The point is to notice that your thoughts arise regardless.
Okay.
So no matter what you do,
Something's going to
no
come
matter
up.
what you think, there will be thoughts that come. And then the whole thing is watch that for long enough to realize that you don't really think those thoughts before you think them.
They just come up.
They're just there. And then that creates a whole line of thought to where it's like, okay, so what even are these thoughts then? So like if I'm not thinking these things,
What is it?
and they're just coming, and I really don't have that much control. Well, I don't have any control.
Yeah.
What are the implications of that for my life? And I think that that's why you sit. And you sit and you sit and you sit and over and over and over the same thing stays true. That the thoughts, like if you don't think them before you think them and they just arrive, are they yours?
Yeah, it makes you think.
Like what exactly? And so if there's
it? Yeah, like
so
what
if there's
exactly?
a thought that's like, you're sitting there and it's like, my life's terrible. This is the worst. Like I'm a piece of shit. I'm never going to be anything in life. I'm never going to get ahead. All the, like just all of that. If you're in that place of just negative self-talk, or if it's like, fuck that guy, or, like, oh, I can't stand this.
That's all you're going to see and think.
But you can sit there and be like, this isn't coming from me.
Yeah.
Like
what is it?
This is just this flow. And so it's like, so there must be you must be the thing that's like before that. Because when and riding is like a really great gateway to this. Because how many times have you been riding and just been in total flow?
Oh yeah.
And there's no thoughts at all.
Yeah, dude, those days are fun when you ride like that. That's probably like actually I've had a couple of people ask me like what I miss the most.
That.
And it's that, like 100%. Like, dude, I was on a bike so much, I did it more than walking. Almost. Like I could, like you could hit a corner, like whatever way you wanted, drag bar, whatever. And it's like so fucking cool at that level, like doing some of the things the top guys do. Like that's what I miss the most, 100%.
And it's tied to there not being thoughts.
Yeah, you're just like...
You're just doing it.
Dude, even like honestly, days like that of training or like especially practice days that go like that, when you're done, you almost like don't even know what you did. It's so weird. You're like, what? You're like total, like almost like don't even know what's going on.
Just blacked out.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But I think you can get that training too, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can be pushing. I mean, I get it heavy in jiu-jitsu, like more than riding.
Yeah, I would get it running, like
Yeah,
a runner's
runner's
high
high, yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, or dude, same thing. Like I've done a couple century bike rides. Dude, you like go through some mental battles when you're doing that shit. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
The things you feel and go through and like body rushes. It's like you're like destroying your body
Yeah.
and you feel good. It's
But-
so weird.
But so I think that relates directly back to meditation. And I don't think a lot of people make that connection, right? But so if there's a version of you that you've experienced that doesn't have thoughts, that's you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so that's the actual you.
Yeah.
And then there's like the you that gets kind of fucked up is the one that has these thoughts just delivered to you on a never-ending conveyor
Yeah, like
belt.
cycle.
And then you attach yourself to this one.
Yeah.
So you're like, I am a piece of shit.
Like that's my identity.
I am never gonna get anywhere.
Yeah. And dude, it's so easy to get
And
like
that
caught.
that
in that
becomes your
cycle.
identity.
Yeah, dude. It's like, it's crazy because it's so common, you know, and like you really are what you think about
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know, maybe try. There's a really, really good app. It's like the best app for meditation that I've found. It's called Waking Up.
Okay.
And there's an intro course. It's like 30 days. You should just do it. It's like 10 minutes
Just
a
being
day.
consistent with it.
Well, it's just 10 minutes. The course kind of like talks you through all of this. So
Okay.
you're like doing a 10-minute meditation,
Okay.
but it's almost like theory.
Okay.
Because the problem with like traditional meditation or the way that it's espoused, the way that it's spoken about is like this fucking influencer Bali chick. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the yogi Indian dude where it's so shrouded in all this shit. But this app is just, it's by a neuroscientist.
So it's like
So
pretty
it's like,
straight to the point.
This is what's happening. Think about, like, notice this. Can you notice this? Oh, I can actually. And then
Yeah.
you sort of go down and in 30 days, you're just like,
Makes sense.
you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you can do it. And then, you know, and there will be times like now when I do it, like if I do like a 10-minute, I'll do like 10 or 20. Dude, I don't know what time it is because I don't stop and look, but like there is a point where there's nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there and it's
Just
like
chilling.
3 minutes, 4 minutes, however long that is, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then I come back and you know how you were saying like that feeling of riding where you're like,
You kind of get that
I don't know
feeling
where
after.
I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I've had
like time
times-
goes by quick.
Yeah,
Quicker.
it just disappears. And I've had times where, like, there's one day in particular where I had like 2 shows. It was back in Australia, and I had like one in the morning that was a call with America. Then I had like an hour and a half to get home, then get back to the studio, and then do like an in-person
just
one
crazy.
in Australia.
Yeah.
And I was like busy, and I just like I had anxiety.
Yeah,
I like went
there's
home,
too much going on.
made a coffee.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, I walked out my door, left my car keys inside. I was just like,
Everything's going like, yeah.
like the brain was just gone. And I was like, you know what? I need to fucking stop. So I stopped, put on meditation,
Just chilled.
did it. Dude, in like 4 minutes,
Felt way better.
everything was like, all of that was gone. I picked up my coffee, grabbed my car keys. and I
Good to
went.
go.
Yeah,
to
it's
go.
like, it's just crazy.
Yeah,
What,
if you
10
take
minutes.
Take a couple minutes to like reflect a little bit and like internalize some things and just take a minute
But I
for
think,
yourself.
I think that if you don't understand like the mechanisms and like what you're really trying to do, you're kind of pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
You're sort of just sitting there thinking. you
Yeah,
know?
no, it's always good to freaking kind of deep dive everything. You know, if you're gonna do it right and like really give it a true shot. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
100%.
why you got to where you got to, dude.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like that's one thing I've always been like that since I was a kid. Like, if I pick one thing and like do it, I'm like very hyper focused on it. You know, I don't know. It's hard for me to multitask,
Yeah.
but
But you can lose yourself in one task
yeah,
completely.
like very deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about Road to Recovery, but I think we changed subjects. So they were really great through this
Yeah.
process.
Yes.
What was just like their involvement and then just the support from the industry in general?
Dude, honestly, the industry like really came together for me. It was cool to see. Like, it's probably, I mean, the last one was Moreau, like someone getting hurt at a race, you know? So it's kind of like, you know, people have gotten paralyzed during the week that were professional and like, I don't know. I don't want to say it gets like brushed over, but like,
It's not front as
yeah,
it's
it's
not as
like,
front of mind.
yeah, it's different when it's like at a race and everyone's there and it's like kind of like, it's really heavy. I feel like, you know, like I remember because I was at Tampa with Moreau happening and it was like, you know, fucking vibes are pretty low in the pits, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I mean, road to recovery though, like Mike, he's lived it, he raced, he gets it. And like, he really helped me and my wife. Like, he really knows the ins and outs of insurance too, and like what we can and can't get. Like when to apply for things, like whether it's government assistance, like he's done everything, dude. It's like crazy. So Mike's awesome with that. And then like Anita and Jimmy's been through the injury, so he gets it. And Anita, I believe it's his mom.
It's his mom, yeah.
Yeah. And dude, like they're very hands-on, like they'll pick up the phone whenever, very straight to the point, and just really helpful, honestly, every step of the way. So it was huge to have them in my corner, and then just a lot of people that I have never met or that I didn't expect to show up really showed up for me and like gave me a lot of support. And then there's people that I've been friends with or family that like don't show up that you're kind of caught off guard by. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, you know, things that are like hard or like just kind of shitty situations. Like it's sometimes you're kind of surprised at like who does or who doesn't show up. You know what I'm saying? Does it make sense?
You know what's fucking so crazy?
Yeah.
So yesterday, I very, very infrequently go on Instagram. Don't have it on my phone. Got to go on the browser. So I went on the browser yesterday, and I fucking opened. Didn't realize that it was April Fool's Day.
Oh God, what'd you read?
So then I see one of my fucking friends post a photo of like his fucking building burning down, and apparently his son did it as a joke.
Oh my God.
But he's like kind of like a famous guy.
Okay, so you're like, dude, what the hell?
And so I've fucking texted him. It's triggered me because the studio burned down. And he's like a guy I've known for 15 years. Great. If I called him tomorrow and was like, yo, dude, I need help, he would be there.
Yeah, he'd be
but
there.
I don't talk to him barely ever, right? So I've just sent him this, fucking, I got your back, bro. Like, anything you need from me, like, as soon as you open, let me know. Like, blah. Sent him this thing, and he called me, like, straight away.
Like, dude, it's April Fool's.
And as soon as he called me, I realized it was the fucking 2nd of April. But he said the exact same thing. He's like, dude, you know how many fucking people didn't text me?
A lot.
And didn't call me? And he's like, you know how many random people? He's like, we never talk that. Like, we'll see each other every now and again.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, it's kind of shocked me, dude.
Yeah. No, it does. Like, it kind of puts some things in perspective here and there, you know? But either way, like, dude, the industry itself, like, really came together for me. Like, I put a lot of effort and, like, love to the sport since I was a kid. So it was really cool for me to get that back. You know, like, I know I wasn't a top guy, but I was, like, a top privateer for,
You
like,
were
a long...
You were a top guy you were what I would consider a top guy.
Yeah, like, I mean, made 450 mains. I was there, beat some factory guys here and there. Like, I definitely, like, accomplished a lot for, like, my situation, I feel like.
Yep.
But, yeah, man, it's like the industry really gave back to me. It was cool, honestly. Really cool for me to see that.
Man, and I can just imagine that
So.
that's when you would have, like, needed it the most.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
obviously, there's, like, the monetary side of it, but just the support.
Yeah, dude, like, the messages. I mean, I had, I don't know, probably, like, 15,000
Really?
DMs across like everything. I mean, it was so hard to go through. I mean, I feel bad. It's like impossible to go through that many.
Yeah.
But dude, they really came together for me. It was cool.
Yeah, fuck, man. Just crazy.
Yeah, it's
was
a
a
heavy
year ago,
thing.
dude.
Yeah, I know. It's like
It feels
when I,
like so much has happened.
dude, when I sit down and like think about a year, I'm like, sometimes it feels like yesterday, and then sometimes when I'm like, it feels so long ago too. But it's weird, like time, and just like staying busy, learning new skills, or just I don't know, just anything. I mean, it's crazy how fast time goes by. Like it was even yesterday, I was like sitting there thinking about, I was like, dude, I can't believe I've like not felt my legs for a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's so weird. I don't know.
And it's weird what you can like get used to.
Yeah. Very quickly. Yeah. But a lot of it too is like learning to accept and like hitting something head on and just like, it is what it is and I'm going to figure it out and move on with something new.
Was there a moment where that was a thing?
Probably just right after I got out of rehab and back home. Pretty much. Yeah, I was just like ready to, move forward. That's really all there is to it.
Is there like a process of denial that you go through?
A little bit. I would say at first it was like really hard to accept that that's how it ended for me, like racing. It's like, I don't know. It's definitely not how I pictured it. Because one thing that I really battled with is like, I was planning on being done at the playoffs in 24. And I did good. So I decided to race another year. So I battled with that a long time. Same with like my wife and my main sponsor, Tim Essenson. He really struggled with that because he was like the main reason why I raced in 25. Because he was like, I'm going to like up your support. Yamaha up my support. It's like Jim Roach. And I like my program elevated if I was going to race. So, and I was coming off pretty good playoffs. So I was like, let's do it. And unfortunately, I had a knee surgery like 2 weeks after the playoffs. So I think I was on the bike 4 weeks before I won from a knee surgery. So I was like,
You're behind the eight ball.
Dude, I busted my ass those 4 weeks though. Like, and I don't know, I was having such a good year. It's just like so shitty to have it go the way it did.
That's one of those things too where in those moments, and this is like all of life, is that you could have had a thought in your head like, maybe I should just change my rebound.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you decide to
not do it.
I'll just do one more lap, or I'll just stay. Like
I've had days like that where you do one more lap at the practice track.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
I fucking clip riding it. If anyone says that,
yeah, I
that's
do that too.
I'm like, nah, let's not worry about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in that day, there's 1,000 moments where if just something goes a little bit differently.
Yeah,
you're
dude,
not
I feel
right
like
there
I could
at
have
that
crashed
time.
any other way and I'd probably be fine, or maybe like broken arm or something. It's just like, I don't know why that freaking came off the way I did.
Yeah. And like you said, Vial the next week,
Yeah.
same crash.
Yeah. Just got thrown forward instead of up.
Yeah.
But like I said, like 9 times out of 10, when you case a 5-footer, you get ejected forward because you get like kicked so funny. So yeah, when I got like into the bars and my bike like almost like stood up instead of kept going over forward, I was like so caught off guard. But you can't really react. Everything happens so fast.
It happened so fast, but it happened so slow.
Dude, literally, I remember like in the air, it's like so slow motion. God, so weird. I mean, you've probably been thrown off your bike, and it literally feels like ages when you hit the ground.
Well, when I broke my hip, dude, it was the most retarded crash I've ever had. So like I was riding a brand new KTM.
Okay.
And so it was like, they're pretty stiff at the start, right?
Yeah, they are. The frame.
And so I was just literally fucking around. Like there's like this little double, and I came around this corner, and it was like just like I'm talking like as long as the table, just like a little tiny, like barely has a landing.
Yeah.
And I came around and I was gonna pull in, and then I had an idea in my head. I was like, I want to just hit this one turn one more time. And so I just like didn't, and I just went and didn't respect that. Okay, it's still a jump.
Yeah.
And I just was like, what? And landed, and
Sideways?
I landed like the littlest bit sideways.
Yeah, and just
And it just like brand new frame just kicked. And then there was it was just at a friend's house, and there's a fence right there.
Oh, so you clipped that?
No, so I went and I was going straight towards the fence, and it's like a barbed wire fence. Okay. And I was like, I'm gonna get fucked up.
Yeah.
So I literally just went like, yeah.
Yeah, like laid it down?
No, just like, I don't even know how to like describe it, but I was like, I just turned off and like popped the front wheel up.
Are you trying to make the bike take the hit first kind of thing?
I was just trying not to hit the fence.
Hit the fence at all.
So like I went this way, and then I felt it swap, and I was like, I'm kind of just going to make the bike swap back the other way and I'll like ride out straight. And I did it, but then I didn't realize that I was going to, I put myself back on the track. And so then I went on another double on an up
sideways.
ramp. Yeah.
Okay.
And just went straight up in the air
So that's what got you.
and then straight down.
Yeah.
It was just the most dumb, stupid thing. And the whole time I was crashing. And I'm in there, I'm just like, you are
Dumb.
a fucking idiot.
Like, damn
Like,
it.
this shouldn't,
You're like, dude, I would have been better off hitting the fence
yeah, probably.
at that point.
Probably.
That's
in
like,
the end.
I like look at it. I'm like, I don't know. I've always had like a weird thing of like letting go of the bars. Like I've always rode the fucker to the ground. I don't know. Every time it crashed almost. So it's like.
That's watching Ricky Carmichael for your whole life.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, you just, you're not crashing until you're like on the ground kind of thing. And I don't know why I've like never bailed off ever. And I don't know if that's something like maybe that could save me is like the initial like endo to like kind of like let go of the
Just
bars
jump
and
through
just
it.
freaking jump through it or something. I don't know. I mean, it's so, you never know what to do in that moment because everything happens so fast.
And you just,
Yeah, I mean, like literally by the time I like compressed and like looked back up, the bars were already coming back in my face because it hit the next jump. So it's like, I don't know. Who knows what could have changed it?
yeah.
But it happened, so I can't go back and do it. So I don't know. I try not to think about it too much, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So you're working with FXR.
yep.
So how long till you kind of got back to the place where you're like, all right, I'm just going to get a job? And
So they actually reached out to me because I was like, I wanted to kind of get back to working right away, just keep my mind busy. But they reached out to me, I think it was end of August or beginning of September, something like that, saying if I was interested, they would like create a position for me in the company. It would be like a fully remote position, like considering the circumstances, because they're up in Winnipeg. So it's kind of, can't move out to Canada.
it's a hike.
Yeah, it's a little hike. So I'm just managing some amateur stuff, doing accounts, dealing with a lot of dads that think their kids are Carmichael,
The next best thing.
Yeah.
And how many people ask me to get Alpine Stars deals?
Dude, Alpine Star doesn't give out deals.
That's I've had some like
You either get free
Yeah.
or nothing.
I had some
like-
people from Australia be like, my kid's great. I'm like, so Alpine Stars actually just picked up these two Australians.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're good on. I think they're good on young Australian talent.
Yeah, I think, they're kind of heavily invested. They're,
They're leveraged
Yeah,
right now in
so-
that space.
yeah. But yeah, dude, it's been fun to like see a new side of the sport on that side and get back in the amateur scene again. So I'll be going to Loretta's for a couple days.
Sick.
Yeah, it's hard to handle the heat with my injury because the same thing with like the AD
Hey.
got there. The SOTA Fuel.
I'll get you hooked up.
All right.
You won't.
But
You won't.
dude,
get
another
dehydrated.
thing that's hard because obviously I can't control my bladder. So if I drink too much, then I piss myself. So you kind of gotta like
So do
really
you-
watch yourself.
Do you have to? So you don't have like a catheter that's in all the time.
No.
So you just go to the toilet.
yeah, I
at,
just
like-
do every 4 hours.
Okay.
like
yeah.
a
So
schedule.
if you're like bulk hydrating.
Then I do like every 2.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's one thing that's like makes cycling hard.
you can't cycle for long periods.
So yeah, if you're in there for like 3 hours and like hydrating, you'll piss yourself.
Fuck.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of I don't know. It's a weird injury
Yeah. That's
in
a.
that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like a lot of cyclists, like the Olympic guys, they'll do it's called a Foley. I think is what's called. It's like where it's in there, and they'll have it like pretty much just drip off the side when they're cycling.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so it's just in there.
Yeah.
So then you can just drink whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I remember about when I was in hospital with all those surgeries. I had a catheter.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I was just like, look, 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 look. I was like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't gotta pee. Dude.
Yeah. Because like with the kid, I just have to piss so much.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
With just one kidney.
Yeah. So it's just like it, and then that's the cycle of getting dehydrated. Because if I'm doing podcasts, I got to drive here, do the podcast, drive home. Like, how hydrated can I
get.
really get if I have to piss every 20 minutes?
Because
And
you
then
gotta stop all the time.
do jiu-jitsu, you lose like 5 liters of sweat wearing fucking tracksuits while you're
Yeah,
doing
right.
gnarly cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole thing that
Yeah. So that's kind of been tough to like figure out But once you like figure out your body and like how it works and scheduling and stuff, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like my bladder can fucking hold a lot.
Yeah.
Dude, like some people will pee themselves with like 300 milliliters. I've had like where I'm like pounding drinks. I've peed 1,500 milliliters before.
Damn, that's like that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, fine. Like didn't piss myself. So the thing's
You've got a pretty
both.
like solid body. Like I feel
Yeah.
like genetically,
Yeah.
you're actually a pretty fucking gnarly dude.
Yeah, I think the
Like
one
you
thing
gain
that
weight, like you can gain muscle super quick,
Yeah,
like
quick.
crazy good cardio.
Yeah.
Legs haven't gone.
the only thing that like really helped me back with Supercross at first when I first started pro was my asthma. Because I had really bad asthma. It's gotten so much better since I moved to California. Like I don't have allergies anymore. But when I lived out east, dude, I was a wreck.
Probably just all the different trees and
Allergies.
pollen and stuff
Yeah,
like
dude.
that.
Oh my god. So even like outdoors, when I go to Southwick, I'm struggling with
Yeah,
asthma.
With asthma.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Don't got to deal with it anymore.
yeah. So you beat Loretta's for a few days.
Yeah.
And just working with the FXR thing.
Yep.
Have you enjoyed like a different
Yeah, dude,
challenge?
it's nice. Like, I mean, I kind of just do emails all day and like talk to people, but I enjoy it in the sense of like reconnecting with a side of the sport that I've been away from,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Because I love the sport still. Like, I watch every race. Like, I trained a kid or a couple kids for Supercross. Like,
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, Yamaha gave me a Kodiak 4-wheeler to get around
Yeah,
on at
yeah.
the test track. So it was fun, man. Like, it's really cool. Like, I still, it's hard to teach the sport though. That's one thing that I like really found out in training kids was like the way I approach the track isn't going to be, perfect for everybody. So it's like hard to, I guess, connect with what they see and how I would view it
Yeah.
and like kind of meet in the middle and like have them progress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could definitely see that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
Especially
and like,
like younger
teaching
guys.
someone is like 100% like you got to like learn how to do that.
Well,
Like properly.
for them.
Yeah. Like properly explaining things in a retainable way.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I've never done before. So it was different for me to do that side of things where I'm like actually trying to help someone see the track in a different way.
Mm.
But it was fun, honestly. Like we made some progress. He got close to making a main, which was cool, like his first one. So I don't know. I think next year, he had some bike issues and stuff like that. So I think hopefully next year things just go better, doing West Coast. And
You think you'll keep training with him
I,
and stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be, as long as he races,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
you never know.
Yeah.
How dude, with the economy, how that's going.
Yeah, he fucking
Fuck
knows
you,
anyone
yeah.
who races.
It's a privateer thing.
Oh, bro.
Your favorite subject.
Do you want to get into that?
If you want.
What do you think?
Do
you even
we talked about it last time, and dude, like I can see both sides, like in the sense of the sport growing.
But do you know what my point is? Because
Yeah.
I feel like
I think it's
so many people have just missed my point completely.
yeah. I think so too.
that last
I think it comes off as like people think it's harsh to a point that are like in it, but
I
unfortunately,
definitely think it's harsh.
yeah, but like unfortunately, for the sport to grow, it kind of is true.
Mm.
And
Well,
I'm a privateer. I've pitted out of my van. I've been in the fucking trenches, and I agree with it to a certain point.
well, so the indie thing was crazy.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't have Instagram on my phone, right?
Uh-huh.
But so we're doing the premiere for the Joe thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to.
Be on your phone.
I was like, I got to get it. I got to do some stories. I got to do some prep. Well, I'm trying to sell fucking tickets. Like
Yeah.
normally this goes on the internet, people watch it or they don't, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've rented a fucking theater,
You gotta.
like I need to sell some tickets.
Yeah, you gotta.
So
promote it.
I'm like
It's
on
kind of
my,
expensive.
yeah, I'm like on my
Yeah.
Instagram hustling to try and fucking sell this theater out. And so anyway, ended up, it was on my phone and then I like get on the plane and a guy sends me a DM basically just being like,
Fuck you.
no.
Oh.
No, he was like, hey, bro, I had the whole Lappers thing, like, it pissed me off, but it didn't even, wasn't even like a privateer thing.
Yeah,
in
dude,
my-
that's just repeat offenders. 100%.
Yeah, it wasn't like I didn't even associate that night with like, fuck the privateers. I wasn't even thinking, I was like,
No.
dude, there needs to be some fines. There needs to be like some real accountability on
Mm-hmm.
these guys. Every other sport, like, dude, if you're in F1 and you fuck with the main pack as a lapper,
Yeah, you're
bro, they'll pull you off the track.
Yeah,
And like
I
they
think
still
to a
struggle
certain
with
point, it kind of needs to get like that. Like I think Eli said it, like on a sub 50-second track, dude. It's like, especially I know how it is because I did it like Seattle last year. It's so rutted that like you almost can't get out of the way.
Yep.
Because it's weird. There's so many lines, but there's kind of only like 2 or 3 like race lines.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
some of it's so fucked that you can't even like hit the section.
Yep.
So, and everyone's on the edges and you don't know what the leader's doing. Like, dude, if you watch Webb on a rutted track, he's not even on the same part of the track that the other top guys are on. Like he sees the track totally different.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, everyone's got their own battles going on too in the race, but I do think to a certain point, your race is done. You know, like I've been there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure you've gone 2 laps down at some
at
point.
Seattle, I almost went 2 laps down, and I was like, kind of wish they lapped me a second time because, dude, the track was so, you know. But I was like so blown away. Like 12 minutes in when they lapped me, I'm like, bro, what the fuck are they doing? Like, I'm riding with like Craig and Nichols area, and I'm like, I feel like I'm riding good, and they come in like the track's smooth. I'm like, what the fuck?
Dude.
How?
Yeah, different sport.
Yeah.
And I guess so yeah, I wasn't even like the whole privateer thing just wasn't even in my mind at that point, you know, like that.
Yeah.
And that's never been the point that I was.
I don't even think you mentioned a privateer thing in the Indy
literally
thing.
not at all.
Because it was just, hey, like, if you're getting lapped twice at that point, I think, because the track was so short, get off the fucking track.
Yeah. And like Vince was in front of Eli for like a lap and a or like
It was like
3/4 of a lap.
It was a long time.
And it's just like,
And
for
dude,
fuck's
there's some
sake,
people that like
stop.
Like no matter how much faster you are, it's hard to pass them.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes you just don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, and
And-
then he almost like, dude, come across on the finish line before
Yeah.
he came across on that. So
He did one, I think it was Vince. He did it to Kenny over the triple before the finish 2 tracks ago, right? And he was like jumping to the right to get out to the outside, but Kenny cut down to get out of the ruts for the triple face to arc to land turning left to
Yeah.
open it up. But
yeah.
he jumped right thinking get out of the way. So it's like sometimes it's just racing shit,
Definitely.
you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes those guys like they scrub a triple and you don't. And dude, it's like they're 3 feet lower
Yeah, dude.
and they catch you fast.
You know what's crazy?
You know?
So I've obviously never fucking been on the track really with pros, right?
Mhm.
So me and AC, we went out to Parla one day. And bro, we were just like,
you were probably fucking mind blown off.
bro, we were riding the vet track together, just fucking around, right?
Yeah.
And so in the turns and shit, like, he's not like trying to yard me, right? So we're like riding together. And I'm able to like, I'm going through the turns and I'm fucking set. I'm ripping. Like I'm really trying to like stay with him, right? He's cruising through. And so I'm following him around. And then you know that big main tabletop triple like thing that they
Like
have
the
on the vet
straightaway.
track?
Yeah.
That it's like right next to the clubhouse area.
Yeah, there's like 3 tables in a
yeah,
row.
yeah.
Yeah.
Motherfucker,
Scrub?
I'm like on his wheel,
You
right?
start scrubbing.
And he scrubs this jump
Yeah.
and 4 bike lengths.
Yeah. And one
So
jump.
I've just followed him around, and then in one jump, he pulled 4 bike lengths on me. And I'm in the air like, boom, boom, boom. And he's like, yo,
yeah,
next
already
jump.
on the ground on his back wheel.
I was like, that is actually fucked.
Yeah, when you like,
And
dude,
that's what's happening
yeah.
every lap.
Well, that's even like, dude, like a practice day at Paula, like, I mean, there's like kids on 65s and 85s out there with us. And dude, you catch them
So fast.
so fast.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's crazy. Like on a 450, doing that shit. Dude, actually, I actually wanted to talk about this when I thought about it last night because it was like one of the craziest things I've seen in racing. Because I didn't really see it because it was qualifying, but it was Millville 23. I qualified 6th. Okay, like,
Yeah, ripping.
like I know Millville. I'm from Minnesota. Like I can ride the track good. Okay, I was 2/10 off Sexton. Okay, like I'm riding good.
That's solid.
He just won the nations.
Yeah.
Jet, 5 seconds faster than me. I was like, it was like, I thought it was like an error, but he was just that fast. Like, that kid is unreal. When he like, is like, oh, okay. Like, he can go faster whenever he wants.
I was going to say he probably could have even gone faster.
That's what's like I said, I mean, that was probably the craziest thing I've ever, like, I don't know. That was,
yeah, like that didn't compute.
yeah, it's just like,
Like you
dude,
could see maybe 2 seconds.
yeah, about 5.
That's a long time, bro. That's
Yeah.
a year.
That's what I'm saying.
on
And
a track.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what did he do? Like, I'm on a 450 wide open everywhere. Like, what the fuck? So that was, I don't know.
That's
Like,
that's an eye-opening experience.
Like, see someone on like one of their best days, like an elite guy on their best day. Unreal.
Well, and so that's kind of my thing, right? With this whole, like, I'll say, I said fuck the privateers.
Yeah.
One time to Clinton Fowler
Yeah.
when he was saying, oh, so this is why, this is like, my whole fuck the privateers thing is just about this one point. All right. So everyone, this is
This is it.
This is fuck the privateers right here. Is whenever you say we need to do this, we need in-ear communication for safety and for this. But what about the privateers? Fuck the privateers.
Because it's like,
That's
it's like a race that they're not in.
but
essentially.
But it's like
You know.
this is what it takes to do the sport.
Yeah.
So it's like, how far down do you take that?
Yeah.
Oh no, you can't have a kit because not every privateer can afford it.
Yeah, no, like
Oh, but the
in
but
like
the whittle,
that
but the whittle
aspect,
privateer,
I totally agree. with
Joey,
it. Yeah,
the whittle
I never had
privateers.
AK until this year or last year.
But-
You know,
Hey, that's not fair, bro.
yeah, I know.
That's not fair.
So you just
Because
yeah.
the factory guys can. So that's like my whole argument around, like, I never considered you to be a person. You were a full privateer.
Mhm.
You're not who I'm talking about. Justin Starling, not who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like, there's a whole group of guys, not who I'm talking about.
yeah,
And there was guys that I was talking about, and I didn't want to name their names until they made a fucking T-shirt
oh god,
that says "Fuck the Privateers."
okay.
Josh Greco,
Oh yeah,
how many mains has he made in his entire life? Do you know the number?
3.
3.
Oh, I was right.
Yep.
Okay,
Do you know how much money that dude has spent on entry fees?
a lot
$60,000.
in his career. Did you like go through and see how much?
I got.
It's weird. Like,
I got
dude,
intel.
I like Greco's a really nice guy, like actually, but like I totally in the grand scheme of like the sport, trying to grow it at like the
We
main
don't
ev-
need you.
the men of 8 level. Like realistically, you don't need guys like me.
You
You know, like-
you're the cutoff. Like,
Yeah.
where you were, you're the guy.
Yeah.
You're not who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about $60,000 in entries
For 3
to make 3 main events.
Yeah, that's
Bro, you're not good enough.
yeah,
And guess what? I'm not good enough.
yeah. It's just like
So I don't do it.
yeah,
And like the people that are the most upset,
is that
the guy making the t-shirts,
yeah,
is the fucking guys that I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
that's why they're the most angry, is because they know this shit.
yeah. I don't know. It's really, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I made a lot of mains and
You were
Got some decent
you
rides.
were a top level
and
rider.
there was like a lot of days where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yep.
You know?
And so
And I feel like a lot of, you know, I've talked to Starling about that or Moran's. You know, we all think it and we're in the mains pretty often. And, you know, it's just at like the level of risk, you know, like let's say like my injury and like you're not making mains consistently. I don't like, I love the sport, but I don't know if I would do it to this level if I wasn't getting that result for the risk.
And so,
You know?
and so that's kind of my problem, right? So you've got a guy that is, yeah. It's like, what do you do? Like, why? What do you? This isn't about racing Supercross.
Yeah.
Like, this is about, to me, what it looks like with so many of these people is they're in the pits and they're getting photos
Like
and
a-
it's for their Instagram
like a
and
show
I'm a
kind of-
Supercross racer. It's like, you're not.
Mhm.
You go to a Supercross track because this retarded system lets any fucking dude show up and do it and call themselves a Supercross racer. That's my problem. The barrier to entry is too low.
Yeah, I do think it should be more strict.
It has to be.
That.
And so here's the statistic.
It's like, dude, sometimes like outdoors, the gap of like 36, the guy in last is crazy in time.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Brunt Workwear, and I have got the brand new Marin boot here to show you guys right now. Over the last couple of years, I just wanted to get rid of doing the sneaker thing. They're not waterproof. They got super dirty, and I would end up with track shoes. I wanted to be able to rock some boots. I just made a lot more sense to wear boots. So I've switched to wearing boots, and now I've switched to wearing these Brunt boots. There's a super short break-in period, and they're lightweight, they're waterproof, they're slip and oil resistant, they're heat resistant, and they're electrical hazard rated. A lot of you guys that listen to this podcast, you're on job sites, you run a machinery, and you actually really need and test all of these features every single day. So now you can finally have durable work boots that are as comfortable out of the box as your sneakers, and over 500,000 customers agree. Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot, they've reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. For a limited time only, our listeners get $10 off a Brunt by using the code GYPSYGANG at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use the code GYPSYGANG and you are all set. And even better, Brunt will let you try this work boot risk-free on the job site. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show by telling them that the Gypsy Gang sent you. And that's my whole thing, right? And when people say privateers are the backbone of sport, no, they're not. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, no, you're not.
Yeah,
and,
I mean
that's a fact.
The local guys, kind of the backbone of the sport. Like I agree that like chasing your dream and going for it is 100% like go do it. But I think, I don't know, I don't want to say like there's a time frame on it, but like to a certain extent, like at some point, it's not there.
But the data can tell you that.
You know, yeah.
And the numbers don't lie. Like if you've made 3 main events, of $60,000 of trying, like you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the fact. And again, like I empathize. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a Supercross racer.
Yeah.
I would have given anything. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a good enough rider that if I had the mental illness to pursue a career,
Supercross.
like if I had the mental illness to fucking back myself to spend $60,000 on entry fees, then I could probably get around a Supercross track, and I could but that's not smart. It's not, and I never even wanted to like single anyone out. Mm-hmm. But it's like make a t-shirt. It's fair game.
Okay.
But
so now you're fired up.
But I'm not even fired up. But it's just it's the perfect example, because it's like, this is why you're so pissed, bro. Mm-hmm. You're so pissed and passionate about this because you know this is about you. And the thing is that there was a day where a privateer could go and win a race.
Yeah, it's not there.
It's never happening again.
No.
The Delta.
Because when was the last time that happened? The 90s?
It was a dude in Daytona.
Oh wait, I know.
You know,
this was in the 90s,
like a famous,
right?
Yeah, it's like it's in the Supercross the movie where he's like, Mickey Brown to Daytona 79 won the main event out of a box fan.
Yeah, maybe it was that. I don't know, but I do. Yeah, it's been that long.
Yeah, it's just the sport has changed, and
I guess Anstey. That wasn't really a privateer.
But that's the thing. And so then everyone says to me, like, so Ken Roxon can't. It's like,
no.
You're not listening to me. I'm not saying ban privateers. I'm saying, hey, so the statistic is, right?
You're saying the cutoff should be higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be higher because the ceiling is higher.
Yeah.
So the ceiling and the floor, this was the ceiling of what you could do on a dirt bike in 1979. This was the floor of the worst privateer.
Yeah, it was a little tighter.
This is Josh Greco.
Tomac. Yeah.
That's Jet Lawrence.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like even with
And
me
that's how
that day
you
at,
feel.
at Millville, I qualified 6th, and Jet was 5 seconds faster than me. Like that day. I mean, I don't know. He was just having.
It's probably just changed
having
your.
a good,
It
having
made
a
you
good
question
day.
your whole
Yeah, I
life.
was just like, dude, I know this track like with my eyes shut, and he was 5 seconds faster than me. It's crazy.
And
you know?
that's the point, right? And so
Oh, there it is, mud race.
Supercross. Oh, okay, 87. I thought it was 78. 1987 Daytona Supercross was a historic mud-soaked race
Rick
won by
Ryan.
privateer Rick Ryan on a Honda, marking one of the biggest upsets in the sport's history after favorites Ricky Johnson and Ron Lachine crashed in a first-turn pileup. Ryan survived the treacherous, rutted track, finishing ahead of George Holland and Jeff Stanton. That is fucking awesome.
Dude, look at that track, too.
So that was...
It's weird because it's like it's muddy, but it's like still raceable.
Yeah.
It's like really spongy.
And yeah,
So I'm better at mud races that are just like absolutely
completely fucked.
Yeah, like still raining.
It's just a jet ski track
Yeah. But tracks like this, dude, they're so hard to ride and race.
because they're just grabbing you,
Yeah.
sucking you down.
Uh-huh.
So this was 40 years ago.
Was him.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the last. So the last true. All right. For all you people that want the privateers, the backbone of the sport, and anyone can. This happened 40 years ago. It's
What do you want
time to
what do you want to
move
race?
on, people. It's
Yeah.
time to accept. So and my biggest problem. Well, I'm just fucking on a rant. My biggest problem is that.
Dude, I'm going to get clipped for this too.
What's that?
I'm going to get clipped for this too. But
Yeah.
I don't race anymore, so I can
Yeah, you're fine. But the thing is that like the sport's just moved on. You know,
It's at a different level now.
Yeah, and you
It
have
is.
to respect that because then like so, Roxon last year, Tampa, chain got like
Yeah.
2 lappers,
Yeah.
ruined his season. Then
Yeah.
you have Hunter almost dies in Indy because
Oh
of
yeah, what was that?
that was with Mitchell Harris. Was it? No, it was Cole Thompson. That's like a
Okay, but that thing,
that's
dude,
neither hint. That's not.
a little bit like I kind of blame
I'm
a
with
little
you on that.
Hunter on that.
But my point is that Cole. That's not a great example because Cole Thompson is a very good rider.
He's very
you know
good.
what I mean?
Yeah, Cole's
But-
one of my boys actually.
Yeah. So and then you have the Eli thing, and so it's like the problem is the disparity between the top and the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that the statistic that's crazy that I just don't think people think about: 45% of every Saturday at a Supercross race is spent on riders that won't even make the night show.
Like C practice and B practice
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 45% of the day's racing is spent on people that won't even make the night show.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like
And
you
then-
need a graduation series.
And then of the people that make the night show, 45% of them
Don't
won't
make that main.
score a championship point.
Yeah.
So we're racing for the AMA Supercross Championship.
Mhm.
This is the best dirt bike championship on planet Earth.
Mhm.
And we spend the majority of the time on people that will never score a championship point.
in the series.
What the fuck are we
yeah,
doing?
like in the grand scheme of like other motorsports, that does not happen.
Bro, that doesn't
You know.
happen in sport.
Yeah.
How much TV coverage does the third string quarterback for the Denver Broncos get?
No, none. Yeah,
0.
yeah, it doesn't get talked about.
Because he doesn't exist.
Yeah,
And then the people that want to say to me like that privateers are the backbone of the sport,
mm-hmm.
unfortunately they're not. Because I make a living covering the sport and I don't have to mention any of them to make a living.
Yeah, it's the
So,
the
like-
top guys. Yeah,
So how important are these people that are rocking up every Saturday and not even making the night show? By definition,
yeah,
irrelevant. Like
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
I-
even remotely important.
yeah. Like I don't know. It's such a like for me, it's such a fine line, obviously, because like I've had bad years where like I didn't make that many mains and like realistically, I shouldn't have even been out there. Like, you know what I'm saying? But God, it's so like, in the sense of like the sport elevating to the next level, the cutoff does probably need to be higher.
And that's all I want.
Yes.
That's all I want.
And I agree with that in the sense of the sport growing.
Yeah. And the
To
thing,
let the top guys be elite.
but it lets, so like, let's say, so what's one of the biggest problems that we face in the sport right now?
Like on a Saturday,
Yeah.
I mean, probably track prep. You know, that kind of got
Why
me
is that a problem?
more track time. So
So one of the biggest, so I've just asked you unsolicited, didn't lead into that question. What's one of the biggest problems with the sport? Track prep.
Mhm.
Okay. Can I revert back to my statistic?
Yes.
Of 45% of
Yeah.
the fucking time that we spend at a race every single
people that's
weekend
not
is
even-
spent on people that aren't even going to make the night show.
yeah, it's a lot.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
And so I don't care how we do it, right? I don't care what it takes to do it. I wouldn't care if there was only 20 dudes allowed to show up on a Saturday. That's probably unrealistic. That's a bit too far. I'd have to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But delete.
But it's almost kind of like the playoff portion, you know, like how it's like top 30 in points
Yeah.
gets to show up.
Yeah.
Kind of like that style. Cause like, I mean, the playoffs are fucking awesome. I love
I think
the
it
playoffs.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there is less guys in your practice. It's like a little safer in that way. You know, you're not like over each other at all times. Like, dude, some practices on like a small track, dude, it fucking sucks. Putting down a lap.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so hard.
Yeah. So I want to live in a world where the threshold to call yourself a Supercross racer and have the ability
It's higher.
to go to those races is so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a whole nother, you make that happen, right? There's a whole nother industry that has to be born to then take those guys, right?
Yeah, and it's like kind of
and then it
graduate.
becomes like a pathway.
Yeah.
And one of the arguments is, and I mean, I've read every comment, I've read every argument. Like, if I leave one mark on this sport, I want to change people's minds about this.
About that. Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, get rid of the privateers, and then what's my little Jimmy gonna aim for? Everyone was a privateer once. I can tell you right now, Eli Tomac, never been a privateer.
Yeah. There's
Cooper
some
Webb,
yeah.
never been a privateer. Jack Lawrence, never been a privateer.
Yeah. There's some levels of guys that just like haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
And they will never have to.
They will never have to
Yeah, they
because
never
they're
have to.
good. They're
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And so I want to live in a world where the cutoff is way gnarlier. You would have made that cutoff basically every year of your career.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, and there was another series, good series, you would have been the guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You would have been the fucking
I
guy.
could have won a championship.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, like I haven't got a trophy since I turned pro.
But that's what I'm
You
saying.
know what I'm saying?
So
So it's
is there a world? I
That-
would still watch those races.
Mm-hmm.
Put on some good races.
You know, like let's say like me and Starling are going for a fucking title.
dude, because that's the reality
You know,
of it.
yeah, like there's
You would-
different. There is different levels to it. 100%.
And that's like in all other sports, there's a way to watch those.
You know, there's F2.
Exactly. And so that's my
IndyCar.
thing where people
Yeah,
are like, they're like, you're gonna kill the dream for these young kids. Dude,
realistically,
there's no
it might
pri-
make it better.
it will make it better.
Like-
But there's no privateers in NASCAR. There's no
No.
privateers in F1. But there's millions of kids that still want to be F1 drivers.
Yeah,
And we'll
they go
still-
race go karts.
And they'll still make it there,
Yeah.
or they won't. And you can be Jet Lawrence. Dude, I saw how they grew up. I know for a fact what those kids went through. Okay? You can be Jet Lawrence and you can make it. You can be Hayden Deegan and you can make it. If your kid is good enough,
He's gonna make it.
he's going to make it. Whether you're Team Green, privateer at all, like what you went through with your
I mean, look at J-Coop.
J Coop.
I mean, he was like nothing until he got. I mean, he was on Cycle Traders last A year.
Yeah.
And like really,
Crushed it and then was a
Crushed it.
star.
yeah, and ended up working out.
Yeah.
You know.
And so the whole thing as well,
And
right?
Two, you know what's wild about that story is he was thinking about going pro the year before after the Loretta's, and he decided not to because I think he got hurt. I can't remember what happened at that time, and decided to do
So
one
then he
year
went one more year
of
of A.
amateur. And dude, like if
Changed
he
his
didn't
life.
do that, he would have been maybe a privateer his whole career and never won a title, never won a race. Like
Crazy.
you don't fucking know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so weird. Like what we talked about earlier, like day to day, like life choices change your trajectory.
Left and right.
Yeah.
Well, look, Hunter Yoda decided to sit out Loretta's because of the COVID year because he already had a 4-year fucking Geico deal.
Well, it's gone.
Done. Then he spends
Yeah.
the rest of his career fucking grinding to get back there.
Yeah. Now he's like finally
Getting there
club and,
after
like, yeah,
years.
And dude, that's actually one thing I really like even seeing like Simonson right now.
Yeah,
I
so
told my
sick.
I told my wife like 2 years ago, I was like, when I started getting a little bit better at Supercross and went to 450, I was like, dude, I like after learning from these main events in 450, like I want to do a coast
Yeah.
like with clubs so bad on a good 250.
Yeah, you would have crushed.
I think I would have did pretty good actually.
So I agree.
Yeah, like good team environment goes a long ways.
Yeah.
And I learned that through like my Essenson Yamaha program that I got on, dude. It like literally overnight was like I finally was able to kind of show more of my potential.
Yeah.
From
By being in that environment.
yeah, just like it really does change how things are
Yeah.
for yourself. It's kind of crazy.
The last thing I'll say on this, just to try and get these thoughts out, because I haven't.
Yeah. Gotta get it out.
So this plan that like I have, if you raise the floor to be more relative to the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
how much better would a day be at Supercross where like there's, let's say like, I mean, I even see a world where like instead of press day where all the factory dudes show up and fucking do their laps,
Mm-hmm.
why can't we have the pulp main event every Friday? Like,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Kind of like that style.
so like Friday becomes like the qualifying for the B group, and then there's only 22 B guys, and then the top 4 get to be positions 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 or whatever. Or you know what I mean?
Or 18 to 22.
18 through, yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
So then I would love to see this. So there's a Friday program. No pros ride press day. The pros go and do interviews and stand and watch this and be around for that.
Yep.
Because how much better, like even from a press point of view, when these media outlets like CBS from Seattle, CBS at 5,
Yeah.
and they just see some dudes like jumping, rolling around, like going around the whoops, like that's fucking lame, dude.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like that crazy
Exciting.
about that. But if they watch a race, you're
It's a little
like
bit more
showing
exciting.
people what they will see tomorrow night. Then everyone's like, the LCQs are the craziest races, which like, yeah, they kind
sometimes
of
they
are.
are. Yeah.
So there's only 22 guys that are like B practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
They rock up on Friday, they do a free practice, qualifying, then they do
A main.
a B main, right?
Mm-hmm.
That B main, 4 dudes transfer in to make it
like A group.
22 of A group, right? So then you need to be 16th or better in points or 17th or 18th or better in points to avoid that.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So if you're 18th or better in the 450 class, you're pre-qualified.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you got to do the Friday.
Like a B main.
Yeah,
to
you got to do the
qualify in.
Friday thing to get back in.
Which wasn't that kind of, I mean, well, I guess in outdoors back in the day, they used to do like
it was
qualifying races and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the sport, I don't know. Eventually, at some point, you kind of gotta be open to change. It's the only way things grow.
Yeah.
You know, I do think the sport is growing.
It's massively growing, bro.
You know, like it's getting pretty popular. You know, it helps with Deegan, Jet,
But
guys like that.
Like I know it because I go out in public.
And
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like MotoGP, like it was funny. I'm not like deep in that world,
mhm.
but I'm standing around Alpine Stars, and then
Yeah.
these like team dudes are coming and like getting photos with me.
That's
and being
cool.
Like, I love the podcast, like Italian guys, old Spanish guys,
Mhm.
and I'm with my buddy, and he's like, "You have no idea who that is, eh?" And I'm like, "Nah." And he's
Not a
like,
clue.
"This guy is the team manager for this. He used to be the fucking team manager of the Alpine F1." And I'm like, "No idea."
Mhm.
So like that didn't happen years ago.
No,
Everyone's paying so much more attention. And so,
Well, even like at the beginning of the show, you said something about Ricardo, like watching
Oh yeah, watch your pod the day it came out.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I did not expect that. That's really cool.
Yeah,
for
so,
me,
and
you know.
and so let's say we do that. You get your B main, then you got 22 guys go in, but then instead of the like, you wouldn't have the same like LCQ or all that shit. I mean, I guess you theoretically could keep the program the same. Let's just say you do. But so then Saturday, there's no B practice, there's no C practice. Maybe there's a 30-minute A free practice in the morning, and then 2 10-minute qualifiers or 12-minute qualifiers
For gate pick.
and then you go into the night.
But it's only
program.
22 guys.
But it's
that are in the
only
main.
the A guys. Think about how much better that would have been for guys like yourself to do a 30-minute free practice.
That'd be kind of cool.
But how much better would you get?
Yeah.
Like, surely that would help you. And like a Justin Starling, a Moran's, like all of those guys.
Yeah, because now they just cut off 10 minutes of track time.
Which is worse for you guys.
Yeah, like it. I don't know, to learn a track like that fast, like it would be. Those guys probably got it pretty tough. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like a lot of times, dude, like we're hitting shit second lap. Like it's kind of like muscle memory a little bit, but still, it's like I see the point where it's like more track time. Like look at GPs. I mean, like, dude, they got a lot of track time on an outdoor track that they rode last year.
Yeah.
You know, so like they already know.
But I think about, like, say that 30-minute session, you would be able to like go out, do
Change
some laps at the
sag.
start. You'd be able to come in and you'd be like, okay, the track's rough as fuck. Let's go to like more of a main event setting. So then let's test some main event stuff. Dude, I just think about from like the production standpoint of like, I don't watch B and C practice for race day live. I'm the most hardcore fan. I've fucking dedicated my whole life to being a fan. I'm essentially the world's highest paid fan of fucking Supercross.
Yeah, Supercross.
So it's like, I don't watch those guys.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan. I know I'm a fan. That doesn't make me not a fan. I'm just not interested. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Watching those guys in the C practice is not watching Supercross to me, right? And so it's like, dude, imagine a 30-minute 250A. Then they fully clean the track. They've got time. There's no real crazy rush to pack anything in. 30-minute 450. Dude, that's a whole thing to like watch that, see who changes this. There's probably dude changing forks and shocks, and think about the cameras down on the
like
side of the track,
in
like
depth, and like they can get closer to stuff. Like right now, dude, in a 12-minute session, if you pull in to change sag and stuff, I mean, you lose 2 laps of practice probably.
yeah.
You know, like on time wise, because it's only 12 minutes,
So
2 sessions.
to me, this whole thing, like, I get that it kind of hits people in the heart, like privateers, and there's probably a bunch of dudes that they did 1 or 2 races, or it's their dream, but it's like, just be fucking real, man. Like, just interface correctly with reality and stop hurting the guys that are the backbone of the sport. Like, dude, what was the first East Coast? Was Arlington.
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, there was less people there because Deegan wasn't there. I guarantee it.
Probably.
I mean,
dude, Deegan grows the sport. For
guarantee
sure. Yeah.
that, because I remember being there at night and being like, I thought there'd be more people.
It's like kind of dead.
No, it wasn't dead, but every single race up to that point was pretty much a sellout.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Deegan probably boosted a lot of teenagers to try dirt bikes again, or at least watch it.
100%.
You know, I mean, he's good for the sport.
So to me, this whole argument is just so, like, I get it. You guys want your dream, you want your fairy tale, but it's like, let's just not hold on to 1987. Like 1987's 40 years ago. The last time a privateer really won a race was 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty crazy stat.
So it's like, and then this also helps the guys like you that were so close and really high level. It gives you more time on the track.
Yeah, or even last time I know we talked about like a satellite, like if Jack got hurt, like let's say I tested Honda throughout the week, and I was like their B main backup guy.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You know, like that's, I feel like a totally viable option in a lot of ways.
Well, and you'd see that in World Supercross.
Yeah.
So like guys would get hurt and like a new dude just had to step in and race. Like that just gives so much more opportunity. And I think about like the one thing is so you've got Feld, that's the promoter, and then you got AMA that runs the races. So it's like all the entry fees go to the AMA.
Yeah.
So if there's 400 dudes rock up, that's a lot of entry fee. Like this decision is not being made for the good of the sport. This decision to have 300
money.
guys rock up
Yeah,
is
it's
money
money.
from the AMA.
Yeah, it's
and then
money.
the Feld is like, fuck, we ain't going to war with the AMA over this. Whatever. It doesn't affect us. People still come. So like it's people like me that I don't have any monetary interest in. I'm purely looking at it as like what's good for the sport. What's fucking like what would help this grow? What's the trajectory that we're on? What would make this better?
Yeah. I don't know. It's always like you never. I don't know.
I'm just sick of the same shit. And
Yeah.
we argue about the same things.
Yeah, I do think
every
like
fucking year.
a change. I mean, it's been how long has Supercross been going? It's been the same
70 years.
format.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like I'm sure that I guess World Supercross kind of tried a different,
And it's great, bro. You rock
Like-
up at 12.
yeah, like a different format and stuff like that. So it's I don't know, it really just kind of wouldn't hurt to try something new at all. I don't think at all. I mean, I think the top guys like Eli's, Jets, they'd love it. You know.
Everyone at the top of the sport wants it.
So yeah, I mean, even like me is like, let's say I was like top whatever in points, I'd be stoked. So I don't have to do the heat. Fuck the heat race.
Yeah. Well, dude, I think we're fucking almost
Yeah, I feel like we touched on.
almost done, I reckon. This
Yeah,
was,
man.
it's
We
been,
started at what 11:30.
it's been 3 hours, bro.
Yeah, it's been about 3. It goes by quick here.
It does, eh?
Yeah.
Man, I'm as fucked up as everything is. Like, seeing this version of you
Yeah.
is like,
Thanks, man.
I'm very glad.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
very glad that you're where you're at.
Thank
and
you.
I never thought part 2 of the podcast would be
Like this.
this podcast.
I know.
But you know what, bro? Let's just go back to stop it where we stop talking about the injury and then we just start talking about
What's next?
You're the same fucking guy.
Exactly.
Literally,
Mhm.
you look to me right now the same guy that you were.
Thank you.
And the bench racing and
Yeah.
the, you know, like obviously so much changed, but you're just still a fucking legend with an amazing outlook on life. And so much is different and your whole
Yeah.
future's different. But I mean, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that are now not possible, but there's also so many things that are more possible
Yeah.
for a guy like you to do
Yeah.
in this position. You got a beautiful wife, you'll start a family. Like, you know, you're
Yeah.
still,
I mean, like realistically, at the end of the day, like, yes, my life's different. It's not like night and day different. Like, I can still get around. Like, thankfully, I'm not a quad. Like, if my injury's any worse or if my neck shifted or anything like that, like, I'm so grateful for that. So, like, that was one thing early on me and my wife really focused on is like, it always, like, it could have been worse and it wasn't. So, like, just take it as it is. And, you know, you got the situation you're in, make the most of it.
yeah,
And, you know, I mean, it's just really like, I guess, turning into that. And, you know, I can still do a lot, make the most of it, and just kind of live life and you know, it's a little different. It's a different change of pace, like we talked about, but it's, you know, life's still good. It's not over or anything like that. So it's just the way you look at it and the way you approach it.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that just being who you are, what you've gone through to get to the point to even have that injury, it's just like such a wild
Yeah.
story, and you did so much, like that kind of resilience and that kind of determination. I mean,
Yeah.
like, your life's gonna be fucking amazing
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah, either way, man. I mean, I think, you know, life's what you make it at the end of the day. So, you know, a lot of people unfortunately get really caught up in this injury and like go the opposite way and go down a really dark path. And
Like, I've
it's,
seen it, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's rough, man. I've seen it too ever since I got hurt, like seeing people at therapy and rehab facilities. Like it's gnarly. Like, dude, the chick, she was in the ICU room next to me. She like, I don't know, I probably shouldn't have been talking about it, my nurse, but the lady slipped in the shower and she was like just married, 30 something, fucking quad, broke her neck. You know, so it's like, I mean, I got hurt doing something cool. Like You know, I wasn't slipping in the shower. And it's just crazy that life can change that fast, you know? Like I don't know, anyone can get in their car on the way home. Life can change. Like it's just, life is very fragile.
Mm.
And like a lot of people don't slow down and like think about it. I didn't think about it either, really, because I was so busy. You know, sometimes you just get so caught up in it, you almost feel like indestructible kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you don't think about that shit.
Yeah.
And it's probably good not to, in a way, so you don't like really focus on it.
Yeah.
And get like anxiety about it and then hold yourself back. But yeah, man, life can really change quick. But I think just how you hit it head on is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and I think that you're a pretty awesome person
Thanks, man.
to have something like this happen to. Like you're a person that can deal with this and be an example for
Yeah.
people that are going to go through this.
Yeah.
You know, like,
dude, that's one thing. Like I've gotten a lot of messages from people that have gotten hurt and, you know, told me their struggles and I try to help them and everything like that. And I get a lot of joy out of that, honestly, because, you know, I've definitely had my dark moments through this whole recovery. I mean, it's not easy. You know, it's a shitty deal, but just got to keep moving forward.
yeah.
That's
Who's winning this 450 championship?
Dude, I'd love to see Kenny
Mm.
kind of come back. I don't know what's going on with Eli.
Did you see the Brayton thing where he's saying like maybe
Did he catch his foot?
hurt his
something?
knee or something?
I don't know. He doesn't look like himself. Like even in qualifying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a mid-year slump. I mean, sometimes you go through that. He's good at St. Louis,
You know that.
so we'll see this weekend.
So a bit
you
of
know?
inside info.
Okay,
So
insider.
But this is like random. Like
Okay.
how I got this information is like random. I don't even know what the information means. Jay Dungy was supposed to do the pod Tuesday,
He's not
and he didn't because he had to go to Colorado.
for like a test.
Well, if Eli's hurt,
He wouldn't be
why
going
would his,
out. Yeah,
why
he
would
won't.
his mechanic fly to
All the way out
Colorado?
there. His race mechanic. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
So maybe he's not hurt.
Maybe it's just mid-year slump.
I was like, okay. Wow. All right. That changed it because I watched the JB clip and I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then I just don't think that your race mechanic's flying to Cortez, Colorado on a whim
To
if you've got a
hurt rider.
jack knee.
Yeah, I mean, Jade would stay home, chill.
Probably wouldn't be riding. It'd just be doing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that made me really wonder.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. The Hunter's crash was kind of violent, and weird. Got a weird kick.
That was gnarly, bro.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
one of those
Sometimes
ones
though, I
you
do
don't
feel
want to
like,
have.
like, I mean, those guys probably know way more than me about bike setup, but sometimes I feel like his rear end's too tall.
They run them tall. Do you know
Really
how much
tall.
sag they run on
I
those
guess say
things?
90.
Yeah, like 92.
Yeah, I know Eli's up there.
But do you know why Eli runs it so high?
Arm pump, right? So he doesn't
So he can just
slide back.
hit the throttle as
Yeah,
hard
I
as he
tried
wants.
because he runs a lengthened shaft. This is Yamaha days. They had me try one, and I fucking hated it.
Really?
Oh my god, I couldn't hit whoops to save my life.
Yeah.
It deflected so bad. I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah.
Take it
No,
off.
I remember we rode it was like the 25. Was it 24 or 25? What was the first year of the new
23.
Honda? Oh, that new generation.
23.
So yeah, maybe I rode one of them
Mm-hmm.
and then it was at like a swap shootout thing. And so all the Honda techs and stuff are there. And they're like, oh, let's set it here. And I was like,
Not
I rode it.
feeling
I'm like, that fucking sucks for me.
Yeah,
like
not feeling
the
it.
front already feels like it's going to tuck on that
So it's,
bike
like, really twitchy.
before you do.
Yeah, now it's
that.
really twitchy.
Like I want it the other way. And like Yamaha kind of went through that phase as
Mm-hmm.
well, where they were like, yeah,
Taller rear.
all the test riders like 95's the new sag, and I'm like,
Yeah.
not for me, brother.
Yeah, I know, like, dude, even like the Bar X guys at the Yamaha track, I'd be asking like their mechanics, and they were in like 92 and stuff like that. And I think it's just all rider feel. I've always liked chopper out. But the highest
Because
I
you
would
grew
go,
up riding in 1989 CR250,
yeah,
brother.
my shit was pretty hammered. I never even set seg until like 3 years ago. Dead serious.
I believe it.
Like, I didn't think it mattered.
It does, and you know what?
It does matter.
I never do it, I'm always at the track by myself.
Yeah, it's hard
I'm
to.
gonna ride by myself and whatever the fuck that.
But dude, when
thing's
I
at.
actually started testing and like feeling the difference, because you could really tell on Supercross,
The biggest.
go back to back, like dude, I could tell a difference between 1 foot-pound and a torque setting on a bolt at the end of like when I got hurt, and if it like wasn't set, like you fell off. So it's pretty crazy, like, and I got better because I tried.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
I took the time to like learn it, and dude, like track to track, like changing like literally, it sounds stupid, but like chassis bolt tightness would change how the bike works. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, I do remember trying the lengthened shock shaft. I was not a fan.
No bueno.
I don't know how dude, he would hammer the fucking whoops with his rear end that tall at Yamaha. And I'm like, how? My bike does not stay straight.
It doesn't feel good like
It
that.
doesn't feel good. So if I was 98 to 100, that was my sweet spot.
Yeah.
On the Yamaha.
So you want to see Kenny win, but who do you think will win? Do you think Kenny will win?
Dude, he's riding good.
So good.
He's not having his mid-year slump like he has had in the past, or like it's racing, so you never know. Like Hunter looked perfect, he ate shit, lost the red plate. So it's just like stuff like that can happen so fast. You know, like it's like Kenny when his shock broke.
Yeah.
You know, or like Eli last year at Tampa dabbed his foot and broke his leg without even crashing.
Yeah.
So it's, dude, I want to say Eli because he's like my favorite rider, but probably Hunter.
Wouldn't that be insane?
Probably gonna win.
Wouldn't that be insane?
Like he's riding really good. He's came a long ways. I feel like on the 450.
Yeah, I think as well. I've said it a couple of times here, but I think that when you go back, and I said this to Griff, we were driving home from A1, and I was like, that was actually a championship ride from Hunter.
Yeah.
Just to get fourth at A1.
Yeah.
Because he's
last year A1.
Well, they were terrible.
He was back. He was back with me.
Yeah.
He was back with me, bro.
Sorry, he wasn't terrible. He was
No.
he was riding all right.
No, but for like the Lawrences to get what 12, 13.
Yeah.
Right that night they were having a rough night.
Well, this year he sat behind Ando for like 3/4 of the main event, and to me that was just championship mode. He was like, you know what? I ain't doing this.
It's a long series.
I ain't doing this round one. He ended up getting him, got fourth. He easily could have got third that night. But to me, it was like, and then second. And like the pressure that would have been on him to win his first one. And he just kept second. Like, so I just think people slept on the level at which he thought he could win this championship. You know, and I think he's been playing for keeps from day one.
Yeah.
And it might have caught these guys off guard a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I'd like to see Eli win, though. It'd be cool.
I'd be happy to see any of those guys win, honestly.
Oh, totally.
Like, they all have such an amazing story and such like, whoever does win the championship is going to be accompanied by just a brilliant story that we're all going to be stoked on, you know? What do we got? Yeah. 4 points back, 14 points. I mean, 14 points ain't a lot.
No, not at all. It's doable because how many are left?
4?
No.
5?
Oh, so maybe,
Five,
it is
yeah.
kind of hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, we're done. This was great.
Dude, it was awesome. Thanks for having me on.
We could sit here
Yeah,
and
we
bench
could
race
keep going
forever.
for hours, man.
Dude, next year, once we're getting the thick of Supercross, just come in and let's just do a bench race. We won't have to.
Let's do it.
We won't have to recap the injury. We can just bench race.
Let's do it.
Sounds good, bro.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming, bro.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. It's always good to be on.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.